Peace and blessings. I see. Whoop-dee-doo. If they come here and blow up the planet, whoop-dee-doo. If we gotta wait another 25,000 years, whoop-dee-doo. What's good? That nigga said, if we go to prison for the rest of our life, whoop-dee-doo. Whoop-dee-doo. These niggas different. Yeah, I know. Hold up. Zell, you in here? They really got a nigga running around playing alien dress up. Yeah, that's a reptilian under that costume. That's a reptilian up under that costume, for sure. That's a draconian informant. We know him. That's what good clean earth. That's his name. What good clean earth. I wouldn't lie to y'all. We talking about cap, nigga. It's real life. All right. Yeah, y'all niggas not ready for no alien politics. Can't none of y'all nigga go politics for politics when it come to extraterrestrial. Not with me. Y'all play all them games with all them Rashad Jamal niggas, all the extra. Y'all niggas don't want to really go there. Because you ain't going to be able to tell the joke from the truth. I promise you that. Tap in, zap in. Zell, I'm about to pull you. Zell, I don't know if you got How to Speak Elite. Do you got the How to Speak Elite book? People scared, so they don't want to believe. They ain't got to believe. You know what I'm saying? Because we'll be right there, regardless of who believe or not, bro. We don't need you to believe. You know what I'm saying? Oh, by the way, they were bro from. He from the Zeta Reticuli star constellation. You know, star system for sure. You know what I mean? For sure. Well, that's another topic for another day. Nigga, he reptilian, bro. On God. Up under that costume, nigga, reptilian. He a draconian informant. What they call a Z. For sure. He was trained in Zeta Reticuli. He was abducted from Earth in timeline 1 of 1943. Bro, you don't know what you talking about, bro. How you gonna tell me? I've been here longer than all y'all. Boy, stop. You just a new human. What is about to happen will make a believer believe and a sinner to repent. For sure. That what's up then. Need to happen faster. What about the spaceship that coming? It's already here. Every time they coming, you don't know how the solar system works? It's already in the solar system. It's already here. So they call it Neperu or Nibiru. You know what I mean? Or the Million Years Boat. Yeah, nigga ass reptilian ball guy, we on his ass. I thought you were gonna come up here and set up shop. No. Homie, the police, yeah, he the draconian Fed informant. They call him Zed. We call him Zed, from where I'm from. I'm from a whole different system, though. I ain't even from over here. I ain't from Galaxy 17, 16, nor 18. I'm from G19. That's on the whole risky. I'm from there. For sure. And, you know, popping up on niggas. We like, who the fuck are these niggas at, boy? They niggas trying to be curdled. That's our brother who trying to be curdled. You spell it C-R-L-L-L. He trying to be curdled. But you can't beat him, bro. On God. What the hell happened to Zell? I'm supposed to have 2 people reading, 3 people reading. And all 3, well, I'm supposed to not read the book. I'm not supposed to read it today. Neek, well, you in here, you got, do you have How to Speak Elite? I don't want to read the book today. I don't want no brother to read it, though. I know some niggas in here like, I can read it. I don't be wanting to hear niggas talk. What's going on here? I'm waiting on my photos. I had some folks for to read a prophecy that I had for y'all from 2022, but I don't know. I guess we in Metro retrograde. Electrograde. Somebody grading it. I don't know who grading it, but somebody doing it. Cause I know Zell just said she was in here. Now she ain't in here. I'm not reading this shit myself, so I'm not doing that. I might as well just do a whole nother lie then. That shit crazy. Look at this nigga ass. Am I a time travel for sure? For sure. Yeah, look at this nigga ass. You had to come in on your other page to tell me you don't have the book. Somebody saying, I'm gonna go to bed. First of all, why don't you have the book? Holy Tablet be having my head Metro booming for sure. The Holy Tablets ain't even no book. That's a damn portal. The Holy Tablet is not a book. I don't know how he got that or who gave him that. You be thinking you reading a book, next thing you know, he talking to you. Like, well, where the hell you came from? Just talking straight to you. I'm not talking about like, bro, you gotta have the Holy Tablets. Like the ones he printed up and he was selling and giving out. Man, that shit different. The one I got, I don't even got it with me right now. You don't have How to Speak Elite either. Y'all been out here this whole time, didn't never have How to Speak Elite? Y'all ain't never had How to Speak Elite? That's why some of y'all be still asking me certain questions. I answered a lot of it in How to Speak Elite. What? Don't none of the sisters have How to Speak Elite? It was written specifically for y'all. It was for y'all time period, which is now. Y'all ain't even read it. Damn. I tell you, I just writing books for my health. Writing books for practice. Finger workouts. Do I gotta cop the physical? Nah, these were PDFs. I don't know what's going on. I really wanted the book to be read. I went through 3 portals. Why Spagard? Yeah, count that why. Well, we ain't speaking on all that. When we catch his ass, we gonna catch his ass. I'm not, Alcia, you'll send, you'll DM, Mama Niqua and get her email real quick. Send her this, send her How to Speak Elite. Holy Tablet. I'm talking about, yeah, we were talking about the Holy Tablet too. Never mind. I see. Never mind. I think one of them came in. Robert.
Rahubat. Rahubat.
Robert. You can turn the camera off. It's gonna be a zone out. To. Well, what? Tawat prophecy from 2022. Let's play.
Wawa. Let me pull up the book. Click.
I got the holy tablets.
Am I still able to be heard?
Tua.
Wawa. Am I able to open up the book while I have Instagram open? Or
I don't think so. I think you would need another device.
okay, let me pull it up on my computer.
Yeah, How to Speak Elite book was a code breaker for sure. Mm, 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 mm. I don't think they wanted this book read today. It was so interesting. Like I haven't read this book in a while, over a year. So I don't even know. I don't remember what it say. All I know is there's like certain pieces in it. I remember certain points, but I don't even know how it opened up. None of that. So just watch what happens.
Tua. If anybody else has it at the ready, they're welcome to jump in. I'm opening my laptop though and pulling it up. So it's giving me some.
How's everyone? I'm neutral. I don't exist. You talking about Mrs. and Mrs. for sure. That song well hard. Thank you for that. Came a long way. We can't go backwards. Moving in silence hard. Yep. Shout out to Asia.
Of course, this MacBook would be taking this long. I probably have the book printed out, honestly. Let's see.
Y'all ready for the show? Who are coming to the show?
Tua. China. Rehab. Oh, here it is. I do have it printed out. Okay, let's start.
Oh, what? I'm not from Earth. Is that where I'm from? I'm not from Earth. That's the only hint I'll give you. Even if I told you where I'm from, you wouldn't know where that's at. You wouldn't. You don't know what that is. The email link to the show, it'll get sent out that day or the day before.
Voila. I'm ready. How to Speak Elite by Faise One. Turn phone or device sideways for optimal experience. Peace, reader. We've returned, which means again we are turning to Re, which is Ra, the source of light, the Ruach, spirit, and the Ruh, knowledge, to embark upon yet another journey of spiritually sound scientific uncoveries and discoveries. I'm always honored and excited to have these builds with you. When I was a younger child, much newer to the world than I am now, I used to sit at the feet of the elders and hear all about the different religions and philosophies and sciences and ways of life and missions and all of the various types of people I might encounter throughout my existence here. These stories and lessons were all such important bricks laid upon the foundation that is my life, that predicated the temple that is my purpose. Now, as I approach the elderly years more rapidly than you may be able to perceive, being that right now I'm only 23, I've come to realize that one day, and even now, there exists a divine responsibility of mine to take the seat of the teacher amongst all who are willing to learn and read and hear the words of an ancient soul, incarnated in a time where we are called once more to bring about the changes our ancestors told us we must make in order to secure our positions as gods of the earth. This means that even the sciences that I was taught as a brand new being must be expounded upon. As a baton is handed off to the racer who stands firm in place with great potentiality, that potential energy must then be put into motion kinetically, taking the next steps, and so on, until the race is finally won. Someone asked me, how will we know we've won? My answer to them was, you will know you've won before you know you've lost, which means that you must take action, because the opposition is so skilled at this game that they can win for another 1,000 years, and neither you nor your children will have known, for they would have killed you softly. You can predict your victory by looking into the future at that which is not an it in this sense, but a they, your descendants. When you can look down and see that your works have proven to yield magnificent seeds and dazzling fruits, truly you are in the winner's shoes. This, reader, is the purpose of my existence here on planet Earth. I will for there to be such an outstanding chance for your future that by the time I leave, however my exit presents itself to you, there will be no doubt in the minds and hearts of the people that nothing could stop them from succeeding but themselves. So to that I say, be it as it may that we are already gearing up for that reality, this will surely have been a life well spent. Let's travel on, reader, and see what the hell these elite folks talking about. It may not be the most comfortable of realities to come to grips with, the one that says the most foundational aspects of our lives were predetermined way before either of us were born. Traditional belief systems, religious orientations, class, caste, statuses, and even generational traits are just a few of the many tools, staggering in numbers, that have all been utilized in the concentrated effort to maintain indissoluble control over the presumably unwary masses. Throughout your years of public schooling, if you were the majority who did attend, you might remember being taught about the pyramidal structure that is society and the levels therein. It may have been economically represented as 3 main levels: upper class 10%, middle class 35%, working and underclass 55%. Of course, the actual pyramid, as it is societally, would read something much closer to elite 1%, resources and wealth 9%, people and planet 90%. The dark truth of the minds of these elite is that the only thing they don't feel they exist to own is each other. This would mean that they assume ownership over all of humanity, the planet Earth, and its resources. You may have heard of the many different names by which this relatively small group of human beings that holds this immense power may be identified. They have been called the elite, the global elite, the new global elite, the powers that be, the military-industrial complex, the Illuminati, the enlightened ones, the top of the pyramid's eye, the dark lords, the shadow people, the higher-ups, they, them, and more. But they're usually referred to as the elite. The word itself, elite, derives from the French word élite and from the Latin word eligere, meaning to select or to sort out. From this etymological breakdown, one can see how this can be easily associated with the type of power that these so-called elites possess. They sit in positions that allow for them to act as God or gods, selecting those who will be granted to higher rankings in the sociological structure that is this Game of Thrones, and sorting out all of the resources in little people like pieces on a chessboard. The elite are often called specific fraternities and brotherhoods such as the Skulls or the Skull and Bones and the Masons. However, to call the elite the Skull and Bones or the Masons would be a major misnomer. Surely there is an unspoken power bond that the majority of the elite adhere to. This power bond, so to speak, is one that says that most of the members of the power elite are to attend the same universities and private schools, be inducted into the same fraternities and brotherhoods, attend the same churches, give to the same charities, and ultimately live and have their children in the same areas so as to continue the same exact process generationally. So, consequentially, a lot of the elite are Masons. However, the Masons are but a fraternity and brotherhood, and therefore becoming a Mason doesn't make you a part of the elite by far. When people say the Masons run the world, they are but 1/3 of the way there as far as that statement goes. Many of the elite have
Right.
never joined
That's Monique. Can I check it right there?
Tua.
All right. So y'all, excuse me. I'm over here doing push-ups, Megan. My daily standard getting complete. Listen to what's being said there, right? So when people are out here teaching, oh, you see the number 33, or you see the Masons run this, you see the Masons run that. The Masons is a misnomer. That's one of the quickest ways you could tell whether or not somebody knows what they're talking about. It's like saying the Christians or the followers of Jesus. There are so many different types of people, denominations, and groups that follow Jesus, okay? It's also like saying the Muslims. There's so many different sects and groups and parts of Islam. You see what I'm saying? It's like saying the government. There's so many different types and groups of government, okay? So it's an umbrella statement that doesn't tackle or target the points with incision so that you can see what it is that they're actually speaking about, opening it up so you can say, okay, this is who they're speaking about, down to the names, etc. So people say the Masons do this, and then when they see a Masonic emblem, you see how they wanted to associate me with being an agent, even though they weren't paying attention to the fact that the only reason why they saw the Masonic emblem is because I put it out there for them to see, right? Which also shows you how easily people are strung along. You understand? If you put out a symbol that someone thinks they have an understanding of the representation of, then you can, in fact, control them. You understand? Which wouldn't even really be you controlling them, is they're being controlled by the ideology. You see? And that's how politics works so powerfully or strongly, because certain pieces or points that are thrown out into the masses, people have ideologies that sway them left or right. You understand? When those pieces are thrown out. So Masons don't run the world. The Mason thing is a fraternity or a brotherhood, and you can have your uncle, cousin, little brother, anybody that's of age, okay, and of their free will and their own free will and accord, walked into the order, knew which questions to ask to be able to get in, or they were brought to the order, however they were brought to it. Like I was brought to it at age 16. That could be anybody. You understand? So just seeing somebody with a Masonic emblem doesn't place them anywhere near. It doesn't. What do you call it? It's not exclusively Illuminatus. You understand? Because you can have different levels of masonry with somebody like my stepfather was walking around as an EA his whole life, which called an Enter the Apprentice, the first degree. Okay, but you got some people might go from Enter the Apprentice to Master Mason in 1 year. You see, it just depends on who's bringing them through, who it is being brought through, and what their purpose is of even entering into an order. But people see the Masonic emblem and say, like the dude did a video, went viral, and walked up to a man that was a Mason in a store and was like, he an Illuminati. He Mason, he Illuminati. And he didn't understand how ignorant he was being. And the man was like, come on, I ain't no Illuminati. Because why would a Mason say he's not Illuminati? He walking around with the Masonic emblem on. He's telling you he's not a part of the Church of Satan. You understand? But you have to know, again, which groups are you speaking about? Not even just the Church of Satan, you know, churches or synagogues of Shaitan that they speak about in the book of Revelation, where he said people will be a part of the synagogue of Shaitan. Synagogue is meaning a gathering place of anywhere they gather. And Shaitan saying opposition. So when you start calling somebody Illuminati just based off of the Masonic emblem, most people are going to push back and say, I'm not Illuminati. Then you have to get down into the word of it and say, Illuminati or Illuminati said illuminated ones, those who have information, okay? But then you have to separate the ones who possess the fire and the ones who possess the true light or even the lightning, you understand, depending on what degree you're accessing. So just because somebody is lit up doesn't mean they're lit up with what's referred to as good light. And remember, the light is what? Information. So when people say the Masons this or the Masons do that or the Masons do, they don't know what they're talking about. There's so many different types of Masons. You got Scottish Rite, you got York Rite, what they call Prince Hall. You got so many different chapters and groups and branches, Rosicrucian, all that's one and the same. The Essene order, which they think is dead, but it's still around. There's different orders, okay, that are still associated with Masonry, okay, which is the principle of out of the darkness into the light. You with me? So I just want to point that out, that when they saying Masons are the elite, no, you can have a Mason that's, you know, a plumber, and, you know, he did certain things with his life. Somebody might start a bakery. Somebody might be over here, run for president. You understand? Or be the president, or be a mayor, or a police officer. Not every police officer you see is a Mason, and not every police officer that you see as a Mason has real power. He might have associative power. You know what I'm saying? There's very few Masons who actually have true power, because they're not looking for their association with Masonry to validate or substantiate their own power. Those are real Masons. Everybody else is what we call Boy Scout Masons, where they don't even know what it is. They want to be a part of something. All right, so let's do it. Let's play.
So, consequentially, a lot of the elites are Masons. However, the Masons are but a fraternity or brotherhood, and therefore becoming a Mason doesn't make you a part of the elite by far. When people say, the Masons run the world, they are but a third of the way there as far as that statement goes. Many of the elite have never joined and will never join any of these organizations, and those who do only join to carry out their designated works and partake in the rituals that, like any club, have their benefits.
Boom.
This
Let's talk on that real quick. That's money.
That's
So you
funny.
see how I'm saying the elite, a lot of the ones who are actually elite, they don't even join Masonry. You see what I'm saying? They don't join Masonry. They don't join the Rosicrucian order. They don't join the Jesuit order. They don't do any of that. They're the ones who the Rosicrucians, Masons, the Jesuits are alluding to. They're the ones who actually reach the point of the capstone degree, where you have control over the resources, yourself, the planet, your temple, the temples outside, the climate, all of that. You see, those are the ones who can push the button and you don't even know they pushed it. They don't even exist to you. You can't name them. You see, so what's the point of them coming and joining an order? No, those are the ones who actually possess the secrets that are behind the walls of the Vatican in the chambers. You see, they don't need the little degrees, because they're already running the planet. Some of them in contact with extraterrestrials. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same life as human beings have, where they're attempting to find God. They know who God is and what God is. People like Winston Churchill, who would say, don't teach the Christians about UFOs because it'll destroy their faith in the church. Because once the Christians look into UFOs and cross-reference the UFO findings in the disclosure projects with the biblical scriptures, right, and even books that came before that, tablets that came before that, they'll start connecting and say, God is extraterrestrials, right? And they don't want that because that'll kill the church business. Y'all know church is a business. You see, you walk in them building, them lights is on for a reason. They passing the plate around for a reason. Business. They got Joel Osteen on a TV for a reason. That costs money. Everything you see is money. The Bibles cost money. You see all of that. So they don't want to. Church is big business. You see that? That's why you see all these people get called crazy when they talk about UFOs. They get called crazy. They talk about aliens. They get called crazy. You get talking about somebody floating in the air, in the sky that you can't see, but he loves you, but he will be there eventually, but he coming, but you don't know when he's coming, but nobody gonna know when he's coming, but he's coming, and you can just believe in him and just go and worship him. And that's not crazy. They'll never call you crazy for that because there's bigger business than UFOlogy. All right, or Scientology, way bigger business. So UFOlogy and Scientology is at war with, or are at war with, theology, economically. You understand? These are businesses, don't have nothing to do with the actual reality of what it is y'all are speaking about. You don't think your governments, the Satans and the rest of them people, the Putins and the rest of them, Kim and them, you don't think they know who the Bible is talking about? You don't think the Buddhists knew what y'all are saying, and the Vermanas and the flying chariots and all that stuff? That you don't think they know? Of course they know, but they're going to give you religion because it keeps you away from finding out what it is. Because if you actually learn who God is and what God is, and that you can participate in bringing God to the planet Earth and saying that y'all are ready for a new government to come like Revelation 21, you'll lose faith in your government or governments that are set up upon the planet Earth. So the point is, just because they're elite doesn't mean they're going to become Masons or anything like that. And most of these so-called elite, the actual elite who run the worlds within the planet Earth, they don't deal in any of those orders. So when people say Masons run the world, you're not even scratching the surface. You see what I'm saying? You don't know who you is way beyond that. The G that you look at in the Masonic emblem, the light behind that runs the world. But you don't know what's behind. It's called a wall of light. You don't know who's behind there. You see, that's the Wizard of Oz. You have to be able to pull the curtain back. In order for you to pull the curtain back, it's such a long journey that you have to take for you to even get there. And they shoot down a lot of the people before they get to that point. When they start realizing that the systems that are set up here are illusions to stop you from realizing who that is behind that curtain. All right, let's play.
This goes for all of the other existing orders as well. For all of these orders are but organizations that carry out rituals, keep certain sacred secret, as well as secrets sacred, and provide a place of lodging for travelers worldwide. The actual elitism takes place at the top of the pyramid. Regardless of fraternal orientation, and only the elite of the fraternities would ever be allowed to elevate from being simply a part of these organizations to having an actual seat at the table. I want to be clear. I see you, reader, as already born of the elite, and that you are the light and were omnipotent from the moment of your conception and even before that divine point in time. These people who hold these positions of power are not much different than you and I, accepting the fact that they have access to resources as well as information that you and I may not have access to. What do I mean by resources? I mean the necessities of life, the elements we all need to survive and to thrive. Earth, land, water, fire, electricity, air, health. Other resources include military and weaponry, such as atomic bombs and DEWs, direct energy weapons, presidents, governors, judges, police officers, doctors, lawyers, etc. Yes, I do mean to say that even they have living beings as resources, and that they are all used to carry out the will of the elite. The information is that which is required to be able to maintain the type of power and control they possess. Without the information and without the control of even that information, they, the so-called elite, run the risk of losing their power. That nugget about information is why I say to be cautious about this age being proclaimed the information age, because if they, the people, are aware of this proclamation, then so are those who are able to play their hand more aggressively when it comes to monitoring that information. My gentle but urgent warning is to be aware of the reality that just as much as you stand in the heart of the information age, so do you also stand in the heart of the misinformation age. Bars. This is important to know because every second of every hour births a new dogma, accompanied by a set of delusional footprints leading to absolutely nowhere fast, waiting for those who are so eager to acquire some of this higher knowledge so that they may break free from the mental chains that they've finally awakened to realize are there. The way to avoid being lured into these traps in liberator's clothing is to train yourself to always investigate any piece of information hurled your way. It's also key to remember to work to avoid the multiple biases as presented to the world by Robert Greene in his book, The Laws of Human Nature. These biases, if we aren't careful, pose a threat to our well-being, our being well-informed versus being informed well enough for our liking. If that's not a clear statement, I'm sure it will make more sense as I break some of the different biases down. The first bias to become aware of and to make an effort to circumvent is called the confirmation bias. This is the bias whereby most people set out to convince themselves that they arrived rationally at whatever idea they hold dear. They do so by unconsciously searching for evidence that confirms that which they already want to believe. For example, if someone already wants to believe in a flat earth and wants to call themselves finding evidence to back up and support their belief, going to YouTube and typing in proof the earth is flat will only lead them to videos that were most likely posted by people who already believe what they want to believe.
Boom.
Therefore, those videos they find and will also use as references in debates will have been selected as a result of that person's own confirmation bias. That information will spread as others who also had the desire to believe in a flat earth will go and research the references that person provides. That information will spread as others who also had the desire to believe in a flat earth will go and research the references that person provides as confirmation, and the saga is bound to continue until someone decides that despite their own will to believe in an idea, it would be much more practical to go and find evidence that both support and oppose the idea. And from
Now
those two,
let's look at that. That's money. Let's look at that, right? How many people y'all think live like that? How many people you think live like that? Fahima, you
a
can't hear me?
lot.
Oh,
Tua, I can hear you.
you think a lot of people go and check out what their opposing beliefs are?
No, I think a lot of people confirm their own biases and seek information that way. I don't think enough people research for themselves.
Right. That's what I was asking about. The ones who will go in and look for information that isn't supporting their beliefs already. So that's what I'm asking y'all. The answer would be no, it's the other way around. It'd be about 5% of people do that. In humanity, you have to understand what I'm saying. That's not a safe way for people to live. You see, people want to be safe, they want to be comfortable, which is why not a lot of people make it to the top of the pyramid. You see, when you have what's referred to as the sociological pyramid, that construct of how every society operates, okay, or most societies operate, is you'll have the leaders at the top who possess most of the information, most of the resources, if not the power over the resources, even if they don't have it themselves. Okay, the ones who can make a call and make things move the water system here, move the plumbing system here. All right, we hunt here, we hunt there, and we bring the food in here. This amount of people gets this amount. That, I'm saying, the ones who can make the call, they're the ones who their life isn't based on, oh, this is what I believe, so I'm just going to accept it this way, or I'm going to go look for information to confirm my belief. So when you see people out here saying, yo, I want to debate Faise One, or he's scared to debate me, you have to understand most of the things that they want me to come in and debate on is based on their belief systems. And anybody been walking with me realize I say there's no point in what debating somebody's beliefs. That's pointless. You see what I'm saying? Unless you just want, again, entertainment or sport. You have to understand how I move, and also what I'm showing y'all indirectly when I do certain things. Even the thing with the space guy entertainment thing. The people don't. You got some people. Look, you got to watch people. This app isn't that hard to figure out, which means humanity isn't that hard to figure out, because guess who's behind the app? Humanity. People complain about the algorithm. You're complaining about human beings, not a machine. People complaining not getting enough likes and views. That's humans. You understand? That tells you where attention is. Even if it's not on you, the attention is somewhere. Okay. The shadow ban is never enough. What I tell y'all, and even when they tried to hit me with one, I just told everybody to share the stuff, and we still broke through it. If I was never hit with one, we would be having way more motion. I can't blame the machine though. We have to look at who and what is behind the machine, and also who programmed the machine. Humanity. So you look, human beings don't want to investigate. They want to see something instantly and think they understand it. That's what they want. That's why they need headlines. That's why they need captions. They want to think that if they read a caption or a headline, then they know what's going on in the video. And you will see how many people don't have a minute worth of time to investigate something. They'll look at a headline, they'll look at a caption, and then what they do is they'll go to a few comments, all right, to see what the consensus is. And whatever that comment consensus is, they'll kind of blend right in. Or then you have some who attempt to shake up that comment consensus, especially if it's positive, to bring it into more of a negative grounds. All right. But the point is, you'll see people don't read, they don't listen, they don't watch, they don't pay attention. People was like, everybody knows he's in a costume. You're reaching with this one. Because you have to tell me what part of the reality I would be in. Where would I be at, y'all? What simulation would I be inhabiting where my post was serious? Just let me know. But I'm telling you, this is real life. You got a bunch of people who were saying you reaching with this one. Everybody know he's just entertainment. No, we know he not. Who thought he was a real? But they can't pay attention. They can't investigate. If you just investigate for a few seconds and read how things are moving, you'll see that that's a collaborative effort. It's not no one person calling out this person and this person responding. Everything is being collaborated. So I'm showing you out in the open how there are a lot of things that happen that people try to disassociate me from, and don't know that I'm moving it. You understand? Is my hand behind it. There are a lot of things happening that when you see me pop up, you'll see how much I actually have involvement in. Then you have to look and say, well, why would the space guy dude be like, I'm gonna say something about Faise One. Hey, Faise One, you try to put smut on my name, da da da. You're gonna have to see about me, da da da. What's happening behind the scenes? But the people can't see that. You see what I'm saying? Even the ones who think it's just entertainment, they don't see the lineup. You're always being lined up for something. And because you're used to what the disagreeables do, you don't understand that somebody can line you up for a successful revelation. You understand? And successful execution. They put you in position to fail. It's just entertainment, 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 and you're still in chains or still entertained, like the brother Heavy Mahe said. You see? So my point is, how many things you think I got my hands in? You have to watch the realm and what I say and what I do. You understand? Why would I do the space god thing? Why would I do that? Why would I be talking about the Riskians and why would I be talking about Murdoch? And why would I be, you see, because it drifts from just a conversation of extraterrestrials in the form of Greys and the Romartians and the Arcturians, because the ones they leave out is the ones Dr. Malachi York was speaking about, but they talk about it amongst themselves, the ones who look like us. You understand that? Brown skin, woolly hair, the biblical description extraterrestrials. You see I'm explaining to you? They don't want to put them in there. The Jesus family, the God family, the angels, they don't want to talk about them. So when you see someone like Space Guy, the thug, being agreeable, that's when you pay attention. Say, maybe Faise One is making certain things move with this. And then you have to look at the chessboard itself. Get off of the chessboard. Don't be pawns. Don't be kings or queens or none of that. Get off the chessboard. You know, people like, I ain't no pawn. I'm a king. You're still on the board. Somebody still has to pick you up and move you. Get off the chessboard, become one of the players, and you'll be able to see how to speak elite. And what I told you, once you learn how to speak elite, read elite, okay? You have the pen, all right? You have the pencil, which is another degree, Okay, because you can write something and you'll make up your mind and move like a god. You might make up your mind, say, today I'm going to do 100 jumping jacks in the front yard. All right. And somebody heard you, or people, you tell people, yo, I'm doing 100 jumping. And they say, okay, cool. And they wait on you to do 100 jumping jacks in the front yard. You don't do it. You do it in the backyard. And they come to you and say, why didn't you do the 100 jumping jacks in the front yard? Because I got a pencil. If I don't want to do that, I'm going to erase it and write something else. That's also how to move like elite. So you have the pen degree, you have the pencil degree, all right? Then you have the work of the hands, where it ain't just the written things or the things that you can erase, is you start making things move. It's called the hand of God, all right, or the work of the hands. That's the faith, hope, and charity degrees in masonry. Ends with charity. You see? So the big point here to remember is you'll have people able to move things, and you have to be able to watch how they move. Like myself, I already told you I'm elite. So I'm not doing, even when you see the Young Thug stuff, I'm right there up on it. They can't keep me out of it. I'm too big for you to keep me out of it. So I'm going to have a say-so in it. Okay? Even when I say God has the last say. All right? What's my name? Omari. What does it mean? Are you listening? You see, you have to watch how I move. Something happened tomorrow over there with Beyonce and Jay-Z. If it has anything to do with how we can line up what our mission is, guess where I'm going to pop up over there. So whether it's a space God is an alien in Atlanta, you don't think I'm going to get involved? You got to be out your mind. You understand? They had the Young Thug thing where the snakes is at war with each other when I said the snakes going to fall. You don't think I'm going to get involved? You got to be out your mind. You know what I'm saying? No matter what it is. That's why they stay away from me. Because if you can do that and keep yourself relevant, all the while, everybody who coming with you, they popping. Everybody that's making the moves, how you, I say move like that, move, they popping. They popping. The Free Malachi thing is popping. The Nuwapu thing is popping. Right Knowledge thing is popping. Okay? It puts everybody on that, what do you call it, on that hot seat to be able to endure. Because if you're saying you're taking this walk, everybody gonna have their chance to shine, as in you'll have a role in this. How long can you endure? Are you looking for an instant gratification and recognition? What do you call it? Recognition now, or are you ready and willing to endure unto the end? You understand? To receive your reward then, even if it doesn't come in the limelight of the people. So we watch all of that. You see that? So that's what people, again, most people on this walk, they just accept what they see. So what do you think somebody like myself is tasked with when we know that? People just going to accept what they see anyway. So I put stuff out, and you'll see me not responding to a lot of people. They come to the comments, they might see 300, 400 people commenting. It was probably 1,000 comments, but I delete, like, I got a happy trigger finger when it comes to deleting. I delete people comments that don't rock with where we going. If you put out, especially if I post on Dr. Malachi York and you say something negative, they'll never see you comment anything else again. I put you on restriction. You understand? Or I block you. You see how my lives be clean? Sometimes they try to get messy with it. What I do, I just block them, because there's absolutely no reason for me to take the time to involve you in something that you naturally don't want to be a part of, especially at this point in time. So we just moving people out the way. So when people come, what do they see? When they see a post of Dr. Malachi York, they see nothing but positivity, because we have the pen. And when we got the pen, ain't nothing you can do about it. They didn't have the pen for a long time. You see that? So, and I still tell people what? Go and look into what I'm saying. So now we got the pen. Remember, they were putting out all the negative things about Malachi, right? And now we said, and what are we pushing? The untold story of Dr. Malachi York, or the untold story of Dr. York. That's what people go and find out what happened. You don't go to Wikipedia. You don't go to Ida or Nikki Lopez. You don't go to Habiba Washington unless you want to go to Habiba Washington's recanted statement where she said none of these things happened and she lied. Then you go to her, yeah, we'll send you over there. Yeah, we the motherfuckers now. And Malachi said to Faise One, don't just be the only one out there, because then they're going to try to isolate you. So get what wound up happening? More people popping out. Now you see the sisters popping out. You see, and they're going to look around, and the whole thing going to be Nuwapu. And it ain't going to be no, you got to look at Faise One and say, I did it, because that's not what it was about. You understand? It was just to get it done. Because once it's done, it ain't gonna matter who you want to put on it. It's gonna lead everybody back to home anyway, to the center, to Malachi, who's the man with the plan from the beginning. You see? So I tell people, the point is, I tell people to go and look into things even when I put stuff out, because you go and find it. You see what I'm saying? And you'll see the truth behind it. Then you'll be able to better reason between the lies. Because negative, a lot of times, is more impactful than the positive. You see, and you hit somebody with this person charged with X. That's why Wikipedia does that, right? They'll hit Jeffrey Epstein with, oh, he's an American financier. You ask the average person what the fuck is a financier, they don't know what the hell that is, but it sounds fancy. Sounds like some shit that, you know what I'm saying, niggas get involved in and they're remembered for in a good way. And Donald Trump himself is saying that Jeffrey Epstein had some problems. That nigga was troubled. He had some issues. He was a creep. Da da da. Whoop, whoop. That don't make Wikipedia change how they put that man name up. Okay, but you look up Dr. Melikazi York name on Google and they'll try to shut it down. You know what I'm saying? And target them and call them all kind of this, that, and the third. And we done went in there, Wikipedia, because anybody could do it. We done went in there a bunch of times and changed around what they were saying because it was just saying a bunch of things. It's all lies. And they open up with the lies. So we go in and we change it. We switch it. We switch the images. And what they go back around and do, they got people literally there that are on clockwork, got memberships with Wikipedia that as soon as you change it, within seconds, they change it back. You see, it ain't just no, they put it up there and they go on about their life. They watch to make sure nobody changes it. That's their actual job. So you can't change the information. So we have to put our own information out there, the truth that people ain't get to see. You see, the big point again is confirmation bias. People going out to go look for information that fuels their opinions that they had prior. All right. A lot of times people want people like Malachi to be guilty of heinous things and things like that. Why? It helps them rest at night because they think if he is this and he do this, then okay, he's just a man like everybody else. Da 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 da. But then what happens when you realize that that's not the truth? And then you have to look at all his works and the fact that he wasn't no evil individual or disagreeable individual. So then you have to still hold that mirror up to yourself and say, where your work's at. If he's just a man, why? He's the only man like that in history. There are no other men that lived ever in history that is on his level. I mean, that's something that's not regular. To be able to say there are a few people in history like him, you know what I mean? That's one thing. But to say that there's absolutely nobody that has ever lived, documented in history, that you can point to that's on his level, unless you want to go to myths. Okay, if you want to start looking at myths or legends, then you'll get close to it, or ancient Egyptian doctrine, then you get close to it. Other than that, or the Sumerian gods, you'll get close to it. But other than that, and you know what I'm saying, there's nobody in history that you can look and say that to or say that about. You see that? So again, this is our game, and we're in the end game, and we're ending it. They started it, we're going to end it. We don't ride around people's planets provoking shit, but they want to start a war, we're going to end it. All right, let's play.
The first bias to become aware of, oh, no, we passed all that. That information will spread as others who also had the desire to believe in a flat earth will go and research the references that person provides as confirmation, and the saga is bound to continue until someone decides that despite their own will to believe in an idea, it would be much more practical to go and find evidence that both support and oppose the idea, and from those two stacks of bricks of information build a foundation with the actual factual bricks, as opposed to trying to build a factory based off of a fallacy or fallacy, which will undoubtedly crumble under the weight of questioning and challenging from a non-believer. The second bias to realize and avoid is called the conviction bias. This bias happens when people say to themselves, subconsciously, there's no way I could believe in this idea so strongly and it not be true. Do understand that these biases will tie into each other. There's nothing wrong with being able to speak with conviction, be it on a subject or an idea one has taken the time to be a scholar in or on, in any vast arrays of subjects or ideas on which they may have scholarship. However, someone using their convictive abilities to overpower another's ideology because they know they're actually speaking half-truths, and that the other person has points of such validity that not only are their own beliefs being successfully challenged in their mind, but the uncomfortable feeling of those beliefs being seemingly defeated is causing them to have to resort to conviction bias, which they will most of the time is not an honorable act. Which they will most of the time is not an honorable act. There are countless leaders who have risen to power over time by way of their explosive charisma and ability to speak with such conviction that they not only convince their followers to believe in certain ideas, but they even go as far as nearly convincing themselves that those ideas, that those beliefs are actually true.
Rashad Jamal.
I use the word nearly because no one can actually fully convince themselves that a lie or half-truth they're actually true, unless they have developed a false memory and they actually can't differentiate between what's real or fake at that point. They'll always know the truth deep down, even if that truth is the lack thereof, which is their belief. You see? Nonetheless, do seek to avoid conviction bias. Don't let others use it on you, and work towards not using it on others. The third bias is to become aware of and to steer clear of. Tua? Asuni. Unless they have developed a false memory and they actually can't differentiate between what's real or fake at that point, they'll always know the truth deep down, even if that truth is the lack thereof, which is their belief. You see? Nonetheless, do seek to avoid conviction bias. Don't let others use it on you, and work towards not using it on others. The third bias to become aware of and to steer clear of is called the group bias. Most people aren't aware of how much the bandwagon effect reigns supreme in society. They tend to think that they're all original and unique in their lifestyles, ideologies, and even identities. Rapper Hopsin released a song in 2010 on his album Raw called Nocturnal Rainbows, where he opened up with a statement. You think you original? You ain't original. You were programmed to be you. You're a slave and you don't even know it. The ish you think of ain't even your thoughts. ... The masses herd to each other in bands of ideas that have all been handed down to them like old khakis and strapless boots. Robert Greene explains that human beings experience tremendous reliefs when they come across other people who think and feel the same way that they do, and that they are motivated to take up ideas and opinions for that exact reason. They would rather be a part of the crowd than to face the uneasy reality that is isolation. This is why the ones who are called crazy or weird are actually the ones who end up making changes in the world, because they are the ones who dare to be different.
Boom.
And that means they won't always be comfortable. They will, however, usually be saved from the jaws of the group bias. It's through this type of bias that the people are drawn to groups that evolve into cults and factions. It's important to stand on truth and to search for truth always, regardless of the direction of the herd. If you're careful, you'll be able to acknowledge how group bias has affected and influenced your very thought patterns. You'll have the advantage of being able to reverse the spell work involved, and you'll have a more stable footing moving forward so as not to be a victim of this type of bias any longer.
Right. Look at it like this. You see how I'm not saying, you look at all those people out there in the world, reader, and how they're all victims of this and da-da-da. Look, see, I'm pointing it to y'all too, right? Right? Why? Because you have certain instances like what happened when they went in there in the clubhouse rooms and they were attempting to go up against Sabians because they thought that when I was questioning the Sabians, that meant it's time to attack Sabians. They thought that when I question these people over here, that means it's time to attack those people over there. So they went into the rooms and they were trying to debate people who are seasoned debaters. They were trying to debate people who came up in Nuwapu. Regardless of what they call themselves now, nobody ever wanted it with the Nuwapians. So a lot of the people who was walking with me ran in there, and I was on that stage when it happened. And they were getting their behinds handed to them. And I let it happen. I ain't unmic and say, no, don't do that, da, 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 da. No, I let them happen because people were jumping out there like they knew what they were talking about, but they were just repeating what I was saying. You see? So then guess what winds up happening? You're riding the bandwagon. You're grouping in with a bunch of people who think this way and think that because I said something, that means that you know it. So I do my best to show people they can't say that I'm running a cult unless y'all act like it. If y'all act like it's a cult, if y'all act like Nuwapu is a cult, if y'all act like walking with Malachi is a cultish thing to do, then they can do that to us. They're not able to do it to me. They don't, because they can't even say the word cult to me without me defining it to them, showing them the parameters of what it is that makes something a cult, all the what do you call it, the qualifiers of a cult, right? And then I walk them down piece by piece and show him how that which Dr. Melchizedek York put in place is not a cult. Nuwapu itself isn't a cult. However, if you got people who are walking around being cultish, okay, then they can look and say, those people over there are a cult. So you can't be listening to what I'm saying and just believing what I'm saying. You can't make me the center of this movement. You have to make truth the center of the movement. You have to make progress the center of the movement. You have to make evolution the center of the movement. And again, we say movement because it's the only way that the world, especially those who coming in this late, are going to be able to understand what this is. It's way more than that. You understand? But I have to say words that people can grasp, at least to follow along with the conversation or walk along with me while I'm speaking. You see? So when I move, it's a simple thing. Like, for instance, somebody came into one of the groups and was asking questions. Everybody started jumping on him. But why did everybody jump on him? They jumped on him because they didn't understand what he was saying. Right? So then if I didn't intervene, y'all all would have been acting like the devils of somebody who ain't no telling what or who they could become in the group or in the family or in the walk. But if everybody's jumped on it, jumped on them. Now that y'all talking over their head, they trying to talk to you, say, yo, you don't know what I'm saying? I'm saying this, that, and the third. Like, no, I won't do that in here. Woulda, woulda, woo. Da, 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 da. You don't know what, you don't even know what they were saying. So then it became what? Clear that it was a whole misunderstanding of what they put in there wasn't a cash app. They were speaking to something that was associated with the cryptocurrency and things like that. And y'all just didn't know what it was, which meant what? You attacked somebody because you didn't know what they were saying. That'll make you no different than the Rashad Jamal followers. It'll make you no different than the Nature Boy followers. Makes you no different than the 19 Key followers. And y'all been walking with me this long, and I'm still showing you you're no different from them when you do stuff like that. You see, because you have to look. Okay, you don't know what that is. Say, yo, are you asking for money? What is that? Give them the opportunity to explain what it is. You understand? And then if you don't have such an aggressive approach to newcomers, then that'll remove that group think bias. You see, that system that's set up from there, because then you won't look at a newcomer as a threat. You have different people in school. Come on now. When a new student came in, you had the people who was checking out the new student, seeing how they can get over on them. You had the people who was coming and say, yo, man, you rock with me. I'm going to show you how everything go. All right, befriended the new student. And then you had one that just didn't like the new student. Why? The new student might dress fly. You see what I'm saying? The new student might be pretty and, you know what I'm saying, look like she prettier than all the girls in the class. So a few of the girls don't like her, da, da, da. For what reason? They don't have a reason to dislike her other than jealousy or envy. You see, so the new student get handled a certain way because it's threatening to how people are seeing things, especially the new. Okay, I was the new student. What do you think people didn't like me for? No matter where they moved me, because I got moved a lot, if you can imagine, especially as a child, they had gifted programs and they had to move me out of a lot of gifted programs because I was too smart. You have smart. I was too smart because the questions that I asked, the teachers were not prepared to answer them. And the things that I knew, when I was the one you can't tell, you couldn't tell me as a child at any age, oh, so you think you want to come teach the class? Come teach the class. You couldn't tell me that because I could actually go up there, as some of y'all saw, and teach the class. You see what I'm saying? So they would move me around a lot, or I would have to move out of certain classes because the teachers would wind up not liking me. You understand? Because you asking all these questions. That's what I'm supposed to do. You see? And I would finish with my work. So I sit there and write lyrics. They be like, yo, if you're done with your work, you can make up an assignment or do something else. You can't just sit there and write lyrics. I said, or you can give us enough work that is actually challenging for me, that I don't finish your stuff within 10 minutes and I got 40 minutes to spare. When all these other people, then they came out with that No Child Left Behind grant, where they say you got to be in this class with people who aren't speeding up. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. We've gone over multiplication for 3 weeks. I got it on the first 2 days. Why are we still doing this? Well, you still got people that got to catch up. Da. Y'all understand? My point is, when you have new people coming in, That's not the time to go into defense or attack mode. That's the time to really show what you made of. How fast can you integrate people into the walk of truth? How fast can you make it easier for somebody who's coming outside from Babylon, all right, into a tabernacle or a holy place? And then you charged with making sure that it's actually a holy place. Because some people think they're going to be able to defraud Nuwapu. You can't do that. You ain't paying attention? You can't do that. If you're acting like it's a holy place and people come in, a lot of people got more sense to what people think. Some people going to come in and be like, yo, hold on. No, something wrong with that, and they'll leave. You see? And you'll be saying, oh, they didn't want to stick around. They couldn't handle it. No, they didn't want to stick around. They couldn't handle y'all. You see that? So it's to make sure that you're walking upright too. That's why I write books like this, because I told y'all in that rehab book, they're going to try to call it this. They're going to try to say that. They're going to try to this. Why? They do it all the time. The only thing about it is I'm not saying this is how y'all got to do it and keep following me. That I'm saying to make sure that they can't hit us with certain titles and things like that and try to shut us down that way before we even get where we going. And y'all know where we going and y'all know who it's about. Then move like we got sense. You see what I'm saying? Don't be handling people wrong just because they're not saying the things you're saying. If somebody sends you a message, say, I like what you're doing, and they send you a red heart with it, don't side-eye them. They're not coming from where you're coming from. You see what I'm saying? They don't have the experience. They ain't went through certain walks. So don't side-eye them, okay? If they coming in, they're not capitalizing G's. Just because you see me capitalize G's don't mean you capitalize G's, because somebody asks you why you doing it and you don't know how to explain it, that'll be a problem. You see me saying EYE, but somebody asks you about that and you don't know how to explain it, that'll be a problem. You see me with the Masonic emblem, but somebody walk up on you and they ask you about that and you don't know how to respond, that'll be a problem. You see, I don't touch, present, show, reveal, assert any degrees that I don't actually possess. You see that? So you see when people come and question me what I can do. Guess who I learned that from? I learned that from Dr. Malachi York. He said, don't act like you're me, because then you're going to be put to the test and you won't be able to stand up to the test of times. You see that? I don't know how we got here, but it's how we supposed to get here. You know, y'all have to make sure y'all ain't turning into no whoopoo bullies. You know what I mean? That ain't love. Ain't nobody gonna want to be around that. I don't want to be around that. I want to be around loving, genuine people, patient people. You know what I mean? People who ain't gonna beat what they see in themselves out of others. Maybe I need to say that again. People that ain't gonna beat what they see in themselves out of others. You know what I mean? Like, listen, you see somebody, they come in, they got on black shoes. You don't like black shoes, but you wearing black shoes. So you step on their feet. You know what I'm saying? Like, why you stepping on my feet? Because you got on black shoes. They looking like something must be wrong with these people in here when y'all got on black shoes. You know what I mean? And everybody has an inner mirror to access. Everybody, to make sure that there's a society like that, a group like that, a community like that. So when we roll out, and we will roll out, listen to me, we will roll out, it has to be clean cut. They ain't gonna be able to say this, that, and da 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 da. Somebody walk up to you and say, what's your religion? You have to know how to answer that. Somebody walk up and say, who do you follow? You have to know how to answer that. Somebody walk up to you and say, what is it that y'all believe? You have to know how to answer that. Somebody say, what's the point? Who is this Faise One guy? You have to know how to answer that. Somebody say, who is this Malachi person? You have to know how to answer that. You see, again, that's not to group me with Malachi. That's to show you that the name they tried to avoid, Faise One, out here, brought the Malachi name forth out here in today's day and age. And Malachi will tell you when he was out here in the days before my day, okay, they didn't even want him to come on TV, debate, none of that. They kept him out of the public. It's no different. They keep this type of thing out of the public, all right? And the Nuwapians were supposed to be in place to help Dr. Malachi York get the message out. You want to know why he didn't have the help that he was supposed to have? It's because the Nuwapians were acting like how some of y'all act at times. And I do my best to show you. I say, you acting like this person in 2003. You acting like those people in 2009. You acting like this, that, and that. You know, we don't have, okay, some of y'all might have issues with each other, okay? But you can't have issues with each other when it's time to go to work. I'm not saying you can't dislike somebody. I'm saying if you don't know how to transform, Okay, meaning like the book of Matthew, chapter 17, verse 2. Isa, the Messiah, El Messiah, had the ability to transform. You go read the book of Mark. He could transform. He could shapeshift. If you don't have the ability to shapeshift when it comes time to get things done for this thing right here, you shouldn't be around it. Okay, you could be on the outskirts of it. Around it in the inner circle, you have to be able. If you walking with Dr. Malachi York, you never know who gonna walk through that door. You understand? You in the office, you don't know who gonna walk through. You with me? The governor might walk through. You're gonna have to know how to move. You see what I'm saying to you? The chief of the Wichita might walk through. You got to know how to move. Al Sharpton might walk through. You're gonna have to know how to, everything I'm saying actually happened, by the way. You have to know how to move. And if you don't like Al Sharpton, so when Al Sharpton show up, you mean mugging Al Sharpton, and Al Sharpton leave the land, and we were supposed to handle some business, and you made Al Sharpton leave, guess who's leaving with Al Sharpton? You are. You see? And when Al Sharpton leave, guess who gonna talk shit? Malachi. But you don't talk shit when Al Sharpton show up because it's business being handled. The ability to transform on this straight path, on this Surat, or Surat al-Mustaqim, or some of y'all saying Patarat now, okay? The ability to transform, whoever or however it comes, you got to be ready. The Nuwapians and now the Sabaeans aren't willing to work with each other, call each other, talk to each other. They still slandering each other. And you see, we got away from a lot of that. Some of y'all witnessed it. Y'all still here with me? Some of y'all were witnessing that, and we was on the phones and we was on the lives, and we were talking to the people and hearing them and seeing what they saying and all this. And you saw what I kept attempting to get them to do. Work with each other. Y'all, let's just work together. Let's just work together. We got 4 people on this. If we just, okay, anytime you got 4 people, y'all got to be careful because you know they're going to try to move magic to stop it. And then next thing you know, this person get a message from some people that don't have nothing to do with nothing. Right? That's all that. These people get a message from these people that don't have nothing to do with anything. Right? And then they they paranoid about something going on with people that we're working with. Right? And I try to tell, oh, the young elder took the video down. No, young elder didn't take the video down. They say anytime they take a video down, they say the user removed it. He didn't take it down. As a matter of fact, he called me before you called me to tell me to get the video to you. So he ain't on no ops. But then what happened? People get into their feelings, and then that's, you know, the 4 people that were working together, everybody slandering each other. You got the other one making videos on this one, and da da da. Let's, you know, what happened. And then they split off. Everybody thinks they can do their own thing with this. He's been telling everybody from the beginning, as an individual, you will fail. If you want to succeed, you have to succeed as a part of what? All. Exactly. Exactly. It's a part of all. I know some of y'all coming in with the all. When we graduated, it was all. He took the article off, but it's for a reason. You see, it brought you closer. The was separating you from all. When you say all without the on it, it brought you closer to all, to the understanding of what kalum meant. Not el kalum, kalum. You see, like the word kul. You see, it's all, right? And he was saying we could succeed that way. So many affirmations, sayings, and everything. He was doing his best to get people to see it. And I'm telling y'all, 23 years later, they haven't seen it yet. We've made a lot of progress recently because some of y'all are able to see it. But then here's what you have to look at. Not even but, and then here's what you have to look at, right? So I'll say it like this without saying too much. All right. You'll have people who they got different calls and groups where the family gathers and they talk. All right. On the calls, conference calls, thing like that. So somebody might go out and say, oh, we doing this, we got this done, and da 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 da. If the person says that, you have listeners who they want to be the one who's making stuff move, right? They want to be the one that the family is looking at and saying this, that, and the third is the one responsible for this, that, and the third. So if they hear something moving, they don't have nothing to do with it. Guess what it turns into? A slander campaign. They don't get in touch with the person and say, what are y'all working on? Let's see if we can work together. No, they put out updates to attack the person. And they're not attacking the person based off of what they know. They're attacking the person only because they're hearing that this person may be working on something for Dr. Malachi York. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Okay? This is how you can see. That's why I tell y'all, I'll do something like this, and you'll never know when I'll do it, and you'll never know how I'll do it, and you just think that if I say it, you'll know what it is. I'll come out and say, all right, we're getting a lawyer for Dr. Malachi York. I've had it, right? That's when you'll see all the demons come out. They'll come out. They're not going to come out and to help. They're not going to come out to say, we're with you. Do you need anything? They'll come out and say that I'm doing something fraudulent, or they'll come out and say, I didn't go through the process of doing this, that, and the third. And they'll come out and say, Baba doesn't approve of this. Da, da, da. Everybody will have an update for the family to turn the family away from me. You want to know why? Because they've been left behind. Let me tell you how. They think that those who call themselves Nuwabians or Sabians, all right, are the only ones who are able to access Nuwapu. So if somebody is making stuff move for Dr. Malachi York, they think the only way you can make things move for Dr. Malachi York, listen, they think the only way you can make things move for Dr. Malachi York, pay attention, they think the only way you can make things move for Dr. Malachi York is if you steal money from the tribe. So when they hear that something is moving for him, they like, when did somebody such and such ask money from the tribe? That confuses them. So they don't even have that. And now they're just trying to slide it in there and say, this person asked money from the tribe. But then that person never asked money from the tribe. Are y'all listening to what I'm telling you? It's the inside. It ain't the government. It's what is the people inside. Right? Which is why we reached out to y'all. I wasn't making songs like Pops for streams. I made that song Pops because my heart was crying. Right? I reached out in that song because I was around the family trying to see what's going on. I had already been slandered by my own. They all came out. Y'all remember 2022 with that situation when they tried to turn everybody against me. Some of y'all got through it, but some people almost didn't get through it because of how much of the talk it was in the community against me. And all it took was for conversations to be had, which is why they run from conversations, because when we got them conversations on recordings, which we kept on Faise One Live archive, you got people confessing that I was not the culprit. You see, I did not do this. I wasn't trying to talk to this person. I wasn't over here doing that. And then what winds up happening? People see the truth. They say, damn, I hated you for no reason. I was listening to what these people were saying, and I should have da. Exactly, but they know that. And what's so unfortunate is we saw that happen to Malachi. We saw people gang up on him. We saw people slander him. And we saw the world take the sides of the snakes. And nobody wanted to hear his side. All these videos out here, it's rare that you're able to hear Dr. Malachi York on the phone talking. But he got hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of phone calls of him explaining what happened, him talking about what's going on. Why the Nuwapians ain't pushing that? Why them Sabians over there at OSM ain't pushing them calls? Right? Why the people that's coming out now saying they this, that, and the third with the doctrine, why they not letting Malachi tell his own part, tell his side, tell the truth about what happened? Why everybody trying to speak for him? You see what I'm explaining to you? And it's been a long time in the making because a lot of people love the doctrine because it makes them look deep. A lot of, the doctrine gave people a life. A lot of people didn't have no life. A lot of people, what you call cornballs. A lot of people was out there in Babylon dragging their feet, walking like the drunkards. You know what I'm saying? Right knowledge cleaned people up. It gave them a position. It gave people, but they got what? Drunk with power. Next thing you know, what? Those same people who came in out of the streets walking drunk, they still walking drunk, but they just walking drunk in a garb now. And they think, they look over here, they see somebody like myself, they see me not wearing the garb, and they think I'm not family, even though I grew up in this my whole life. I've been saying this and screaming this my whole life. They don't remember when Pop said he take off his robe, he put on his suit, and he becomes Dr. York, and he go into the clubs to reach the people. So it's a lot of y'all out here who y'all are more Nuwapian than the people I grew up with. And that blows my mind. It doesn't blow my mind just because of my experience of it. It blows my mind because Dr. Malachi York said it would be that way. And I couldn't see it at that time. I was young. I didn't understand. I thought everybody who was around family, that was family. And I didn't know much more beyond that. But he was saying a lot of them didn't even touch the books yet. The world that was going to come and find him, those would be the ones who would be the true and faithful. You see? So it's a lot of arrogance and ego and stuff like that. But listen, they all going to have to get in line. But they can't get in line if y'all don't show Nuwapu actually works. You can't fake it. We can't fake it. Y'all can't be Nuwapians beefing with each other. You know what I'm saying? You can't be Nuwapians having problems with one another. You have to learn how to talk and communicate. Why? Because if you don't, it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6 years pass by and y'all trying to figure out why things ain't moving because y'all don't want to work together. And you don't see me tell these people for 2, 3 years, listen, all we have to do is work with one another. Listen, well, hey, call this person, call that person. And they don't want to do it. So y'all have to be the ones that do it. Does this sound like I'm trying to censor me? No. Does it sound like I want to be the successor of Dr. Malachi York? You done lost your rabbit ass mind. Does it sound like I'm trying to be the one that people follow? No. I want this to work because this is all I've ever known. I've seen it work. I was there to witness it work. Okay. And the only way that it can is not because I say so, and that's what it is. This is will we're talking about. People have to be willing. That's one thing we were never able to do. We can't make you do anything. The ones who try, they became the leaders of the world, like Lucifer, Shaitan to them. Okay, well, they do it in a different way. They'll use the amber light, which a lot of people are attracted to, being born into sin. All right, or the flesh world. They'll use the amber light to usurp will. We don't do that. So when we come, people hate us, right? Because it's harder to do what we're doing. All right, or what we're saying needs to be done. It's hard to, you got a problem with somebody, but then you have to look at it like this. We have a grace. And the grace is a lot of y'all have issues they're not deadly issues. They're not VLs. You understand? Ain't nobody killed nobody's friends or family. You with me? Ain't nobody slept with somebody's husband or mate. That's another thing that we had to deal with too. You understand? There's a lot of stuff that y'all having issues with. You don't like what somebody said. Y'all having issues with, you don't like how somebody talked to you. Y'all have an issue with, you don't like what somebody wore. Y'all have an issue with, you don't like who somebody's dating. Y'all have an issue. These type of issues could not be issues if you were standing in the presence of Dr. Malachi York, not in this day and time. And I'm doing my best to tell y'all now because people don't know who's coming out. They don't know him. That's called Amun. You don't know him. The only way you can know him is to make yourself known. And didn't I explain in the Blue Kachina book how to do that? You make yourself known, and it can't be faked, right? Yanun moves in your peripheral. Yanun moves in such a way that you think you're not being watched. I don't know where it's coming from. I'm telling you, I promise you, on my whole soul. I was in the middle of doing push-ups. I don't even know how we got here, but it's for a reason. It gotta be. He's watching the whole thing. You ask me how? Only way I could tell you is that. He's watching the whole thing, and he's not by himself. There are a lot of eyes on this. And when you start saying certain names, when you start moving in certain tones, you light up how the government had people phone lines lighting up when they said jihad after 2001. You couldn't just say jihad. Your phone will light up. If y'all know what I'm saying. You can't just say the word bomb. You couldn't say the word plane. You couldn't say Twin Towers without them tapping into your line, and they had the right to do that. The NSA was getting overactive, but that was all a part of their plan. But I don't want to talk into that too much. Okay. The point is, after 9/11, they blew that shit up. No, never mind. That's because that wasn't how it didn't come out how I thought.
Now.
Okay. After 9/11, they amplified TSA and all the other stuff, the security measures and things like that. You with me? So when you started saying certain words, those are called buzzwords or hot words, and you couldn't say that. They'll have the FBI on your line if you said it a few times, but that made it harder for who? Muslims. Which is why Dr. Malachi York was explaining to people that they were going to make the Islam community or the Muslim community enemies of the state. That's what enemy of the state is about. Okay, not just Islam itself, but those who were able to warp past the system. They were going to make those people literally enemies of the state. And he was shifting people out of just Islam into Native American culture, into the Moorish ancestry, Moorish Science Temple of America, the Noble Drew Ali degrees, and all of that, and the Masonry and things like that, and becoming citizens, and some people, so voters and things like that. You would need taxpayers and things like that, even though Dr. Malachi York didn't have to get into a lot of that as a diplomat. The point is, it was about protection. So the point is, they made Islam the target center. So when you said certain words, it was a hot word. Y'all with me? So when you say Rahubat, you're not just saying, I don't know why. It's for somebody. You're not just saying a word. You're putting yourself on a radar. When you're saying, you're speaking the tongues, or the language, the tones, you're putting yourself on the radar. When you're reading the books, you're putting yourself on the radar. You're playing Dr. Malachi York music, you're putting yourself on the radar. You're burning green light and blue light and purple light in your home, you're putting yourself on the radar. How many people I told y'all that? I said, watch out when we do the green light, watch how much green come out after that. And you saw a lot of green when we did that. And now some of y'all done actually seen the green light in response. You see, and it's been a while that you've been walking and you're able to actually see it. I didn't do that. I don't have that type of technology to flash no green light in the sky. You see? So it's something that you're being put on the radar. And you're looking at me, say, Faise, do it again. I'm on the ground with you. You see? I'm the one that's on the ground. So if you can hear me, Yanu moves in the unseen realm, and you're in the unseen degree. Unseen degree, let me give you a secret or a sacred. Doesn't mean you're not seen. That actually means you're more seen than you were when you were in the visible light spectrum. Is everybody understanding what I'm saying? When you were in the Roy G. Biv, when you weren't talking ultraviolet, okay? When you weren't going sun for verbs, when you weren't activated in the sun, okay? You were activated in the breakdown of the prism. You were less seen than you are now when you're walking in that unseen light, okay? That's where Yanun operates. And notice that's when Yanun showed that green light and that pulsation took place. El Khidr is what you'll say. That green light came through. I don't make this happen. I just say it will, and it does. I talked about the green light that night with my father, okay, on the phone. And then by the time myself and the sisters that he said would be witnesses got to the house, that's when it started. And I tried to show y'all on live, but it wouldn't show up. And they make movies, so you know I'm not just making it up. They make movies like Meteor Man and movies like Nine about the green light, so you can see it. Movies like Lilo and Stitch, where he came in with the green light or the green meteorite and crashed. All right. And I think it was my wife that pointed it out, the 626. I never noticed it. 626 as June 26. Stitch was 626. And 626 is Dr. Malachi York's birthday, June 26. And that's when we saw the green light. That's when that lightning storm came through. All right. And that's when that craft was over, whatever that was, the vortex above my house when I went on live with y'all. All right. And the people who were here to witness it when the power and everything went out and all of that. And that was at midnight on Dr. Malachi York's birthday when all of that was taking place. Around midnight and at midnight when the green light came in. And also he was born midnight. You see? So I wouldn't have been able to do none of that. I by myself, I can't. You know what I'm saying? When you got family, it'll happen differently. When people can say, all right, this is over here happening, that's over there happening. You see? But that was a touchdown, and people were able to see it and witness it. And some of y'all done witnessed when we went on the porch and I showed y'all certain things, and them crafts came through and they blinked that light, and you know what I'm saying? You're seeing certain things, you're hearing certain things, witnessing certain things. This ain't the time to play. This isn't the time to play. So just be ready, because I'm at this point in time, if I come to you and say, do this, it just need to be done. Because if you saw me make certain moves to get us here, I got us this far. What make you think I unlearned how to move at the most vital times? I still know what to do. I still know how to move. I don't want to be the only one that knows. Sometimes y'all just don't know. All right. With time, I'm hopeful that that'll change, because I don't want to be over everything and that, but sometimes I got to get involved and stuff and say, do y'all realize what y'all are doing? You understand? Some people, listen, even when I have to tell people, be cautious about this, be cautious about that, because you don't know how they look at Malachi. You don't know how they see it. So you might have a good heart in moving and doing this, that, and the third. You have to make sure that you're doing things that operate within the green light, out of the harm's way of these demons. Because they already want to make him a target with everything that's happening out here. Anytime his name get the boom and they get to treat him certain ways, all of that. That's how they move. We have to move cautiously. You see that? So all of y'all are being charged with being real Nubians, true Nubians. You understand? And that doesn't mean that everybody who grew up with me or came from my family or community, that doesn't mean everybody is left behind. A lot of them are, and it's hard to say because I don't know what happened. I know that Sabbat means to rest. I talked to them about that. You know, I think it happened for a reason because I was talking. I said it seemed like Malachi is splitting people up. It seemed like he's splitting people to some people going to the left, some people going to the right. I didn't know that he was actually saying that in his new books. It took for me to read the books and hear people talking about it for me to say, I said it. I said that's what's happening. The splitting up of the goats from the lamb. You see what I'm explaining to you? So that right there, it was something that didn't really shake me up, but it helped to substantiate what I know to be so. So some people are resting. And he did say activate yourselves again. You with me? So all of y'all who are with the master, this is the time where you really need to show it. Okay. And the way you show it is, for one, the fake. I told you, fake ain't. Well, I ain't released that album yet. The album Through the Sun, the AI album. But when I do, pay attention to some of the messages that most people may not know what's being said. One of them is fake won't help you when it's time to journey through the sun. You with me? The same way. Let's say if I pulled up with a baby plane, as they call them, or a sham, all right, and the vehicles move at certain rates and degrees, all right, and ever so many revolutions at a time, and the electromagnetism is heightened, and they move in like lightning. One of those vehicles get up on you, okay, you have to be able to stand there in the presence of it. And then how you gonna board a baby son if you haven't made the transformation? Then even if you were able to go through the sun, I mean get on the baby plane or baby son, when that baby son travels through the sun to get out of here, how will you be able to complete the transformation? Because within that transformation vehicle, certain things will happen to you, the person, the being, physically. And if you couldn't withstand the pressure, the frequencies, and all of that, then your turning inside out would destroy you. You understand? It wouldn't yield a light being. It would just destroy you. So there would be no point. And that's why he said there would be no reason for them to come back for Homo erectus because you wouldn't survive the journey. That's in the Holy Tablets, by the way, a book that they're trying to convince people is outdated, even though Dr. Malachi Z. York said out of his own mouth, what? That they would turn away from it foolishly. He said out of his own mouth, he saw Anu face to face and that he's a man. He saw out of his own mouth that you don't need to just be going around Rock Eagle Mound, Ooga Booga, because you might get zapped by the Anunnaki. He said out of his own mouth that people don't know what they're talking about. You want to know why it's happening that way, though? Because they're believing. The movie Knowing didn't say believing. It said knowing. Now, the unseen, which we've been in for a while, is just that some people have been brought around to it. Because he said, and my Umi was in that class, he was going to be in touch with the true psychics and the true psychics only. Right? He said, when it's all over, only the true psychics will be with him. Why would we say that? Well, again, go and watch the movie Knowing. Matter of fact, I might watch that tonight. Watch the movie Knowing, and you'll see that the children were telepathic. They were able to communicate with the ones they call the whisper people. They were telepathic. In order for you to be telepathically inclined, certain things had to be in order. And you can't fake it. And certain things that Malachi Z. York was teaching, a lot of people try to run away from, act like he never taught it. One being the installation of the barytheric gland. Nobody want to talk about that no more. Why? Because niggas is feeling under their chin. They don't feel nothing. You see? They thinking also that that's the only way that they're going to be able to feel it. Not understanding where it will be lodged, okay, in the brain, in the root of the brain. You understand? That installation will be done by otherworldly people. And those who are chosen will receive that mark. You see that? So some people will be waiting for the mark in the forehead. The mark that really puts you in position to get up out of here is called the barytheric gland, which means what? It makes it a lot harder to fake it. If when it comes time, are you one of the telepathic ones for real? Are you going to fake it? Are you really a psychometric? Are you really an intuitive? Are you really a clairvoyant? Or are you going to fake it? Here's how you'll know. Watch movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? And you'll see in the movie Close Encounter of the Third Kind that the man called Roy, right? That was the main character. Go figure. Roy was having visions. Listen. And he had other people that were having visions after having an encounter. Listen. They were having visions that led them to the top of the mountain. Okay? And there they were able to communicate with the extraterrestrial people. You see, through tones. That's Revelation chapter 14. You understand that? Not something regular. Revelation chapter 14 spoke about a group of people called the 144,000, right? Which, if you remember, the conscious and spiritual community were trying to say that 144,000 was speaking about 144 chakras. Until what? Hey, listen, don't come in here spamming the chat. If I'm speaking true, then just be silent, please. Because when y'all come in, you spamming stuff, I got to remove you. Okay? Let people hear what's being said. Don't spam, because people get distracted easily. All right? So you got people who will be standing on this mountain. All right? They call it the 144,000. They're speaking or singing a song that only the 144,000 could learn. All right? Meaning they would have to somehow receive a message telepathically. That's not 144 chakras. And next time somebody say that, tell them, name the chakras you're talking about. And just sit there. They say that's a lot. Be like, I have time. If it's just 144 chakras, all right, name them. They can't name the ones who be talking and saying all that. They wouldn't be able to name the 7 of them. They can't name them the actual names, and a lot of them can't. They can't name them in Sanskrit, and a lot of them can't name them regularly. You see? So no, that's just the esoteric metaphysics side, which is useless. The 144,000 being chosen, the selection is a telepathic conversation. All right, it's a being actually picked up or taken up out of the planet conversation. It's the movie Knowing. And they guide you. You want to know what them little stones was in the movie Knowing? When they were going around giving people them stones and they got it? That's the barotheric gland. All right? Listen, they run out. They can run with that if they want to. Don't matter, because they don't know what the barotheric gland is. They have to go through Malachi to actually know what it is. And he only revealed 4 points of the barotheric gland, which is the telepathic, the psychometric, the clairvoyant, and the intuitive. It's only 4 points. You see what I'm saying? He also explained that there's only one sense to human beings, and that sense is feel. Okay? So if he's speaking on 9 senses, you don't have all of them. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? They have to go through him to know what it is, where it will be, and how to get there. Another thing is not for you to be walking around feeling up under everybody's chin. The point is that, let's say, if it's time to move, some of y'all are going to know to go certain places. You won't even know why. Let me tell you this. Some people going to try to fake it. They're doing it already, by the way. Some people trying to fake, I got my barotheric gland, da-da-da. Some people are going to try to fake it. And it's going to be loud and proud, and it's going to be on display, which is why Dr. Malachi York held back a lot of that degree from people, because he was saying the first thing you want to do, if you learn how to levitate, all right, and learn certain science, the first thing you want to do is go on a camera or go out and show people. Everybody talking about they got superpowers. What you see people doing? Waving their hands, pushing water bottles. They want to put it on display. They want to be seen. They want to be glorified. They want people to say, you don't know why people sit in Tibet for 30 years, literally sit with the monks for 30 years to access certain degrees, all right? And they don't come into society to show them off, right? They will only show up for certain things if they're called, and you won't know they were there. That's how the monks move. No, I'm not talking about the ones coming in with the orange garb and all of that. That's TV, okay? Not saying they don't wear that. Someone wear the orange, someone wear the yellow, the red, and the brown, and the green, and the blue, different ones, all right? The point is, you won't know that they were even a Tibetan monk. You ever seen the guy? You seen it. That came in, had the big head. Yeah. He was weird looking. He just walking, doing weird stuff. You know what I mean? I'm talking about it could have been at your job. It could have been at the club. You ever seen the weird guy that comes in, got a big ass head, okay, or a small head? Some of these people that are monks ain't human, by the way. The monks are one of the schools that even the extraterrestrials come and sit with and be a part of. You see? So you got to watch for stuff like that. They're not trying to be seen. They coming in to do something and they out. You see? By the time you look, you see the license plate falling off. That's how fast they pulled off. You with me? So that's not going to be able to be faked. Some of y'all are going to say, I don't know why, but something's telling me. That's how you know. I don't know what it is, but something's telling me to move to Atlanta. I don't know what it is, but something's telling me to get out of Cali. I don't know what it is, but something's telling me to drink this water. I don't know what it is, but something's telling me to fast. I don't know what it is, but something's telling me don't eat this meat. I don't know what it is, but something's telling me to this. I don't know what it is, but something's telling me to that. Those of you who are trying to put it on display, you're going to have a problem. It's going to be rough for you because you're going to look around and you're going to witness and see those who, and this is the thing about it, it's the beautiful part. If you stop trying to be like a lot of the conscious community cut themselves off when they started saying stuff like there are no guys outside of ourselves, just go within. A lot of them cut themselves off. And the extraterrestrials don't bat an eye. These people don't bat an eye. These Ethereans, as you call them, they don't bat an eye at stuff like that. The Grays, some of them, it's so many people on different missions. They don't bat an eye at stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You show up and somebody don't have what they needed. They just don't have what they needed. You see? You show up for the wake and when nobody ready, then that's when nobody ready. You with me? So my point is, when they come through, they're only looking for those who have the humility to be humble before the Lord. That's in your Bible. Not to be humble before human beings, but to be able to be humble before the Lord or the Lords, the Elohim, Adonai. Okay, don't be humble before man, but you think you know what this is, they're going to let you think you know what it is. So a lot of people cut themselves off. I was trying to tell people, say, listen, I'm not saying you have to believe in extraterrestrials. That's something totally different. I'm not even talking about that. What I'm saying is to say that there is nobody out there and you haven't gone to check a lot of their illusion. Boom, 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 one by one. Boom, boom. That no, how you know that? Boom, boom, boom. Explain that. You can't. Boom, boom, boom. They thought I was debating. I was showing people that shut down, that shut down, that shut down, that shut down, that shut down. Don't follow that one. Don't follow that one. They don't know what they talking about. See how that one ran? You see how that one ran? You see that one ran? When we show up, that's what they do. You see? Because if Dr. Malachi York made it all up, all right, and prove it. Prove it. You should be able to show me where you went over there to the 19 Galaxy at Alien and found that it wasn't there. Which means you have to be able to commence interstellar travel, intergalactic travel. You can't? So what the fuck is you talking about? You're just a human being in denial. You don't think the Sodom and Gomorrans was out there, those people in those cities, those lost cities, were out there doubting, even when we sent, excuse me, even when it was shown that the extraterrestrials showed up in the story, right? Even when them beings showed up, what happened? They were still getting active. They were still saying, send them extraterrestrials out here. We saw you bring them angels in there. Bring them. They were defiant. You see? And you don't think we've seen that already? We've seen that before. So all this, you the only ones, Malachi made it up, Dr. York is this, blah, 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 blah. Y'all ain't doing nothing but just lining yourself up. And your children will have to deal with that because some of y'all are going to be here and you don't know that these devils are running out of time. So they're going to get more belligerent and they're going to stop hiding the draconians from you. They're going to stop hiding. You know, it ain't going to be no shadow lurkers. These people are going to be eating, feasting. All right. These beings are going to be feasting on human beings, which means that they're going to have a lot more people coming up missing. They're going to have a lot more. This is what they planted. Because they like, man, if this is what it's about to do, if you're going to cause me to walk in error, you heard that story before, they're going to start putting it out more. Now, the conversation of extraterrestrials coming out, all of that, that's a part of it, right? Let me tell you something else. That was a psyop that they used. Flat Earth. Flat Earth set a lot of y'all back 2,000 to 3,000 years. So it's a spell on y'all that think that you're walking on a flat disc, right? And that you're surrounded by ice. Floating in nowhere, but it's in water, but it's a fixed plane, but it's not a fixed plane because it's moving, but it's not moving, but it's in motion, but it's not in motion. And there's a sun that's moving in it, but we don't know how it's moving in it. It's electromagnetism. You don't know how to explain that. So you're just going to say electromagnetism. You're saying something and you don't know what you're saying. Do you know what electromagnetism is? No, you don't. You're just repeating what somebody done said on YouTube. Because if I ask you to explain electromagnetism, you're not going to know what it is. You're going to think we're talking about electric magnets. That's not electromagnetism. You understand? Same reason why people thinking they touch stuff. I start speaking about things like electromagnetic repulsion, right? And they don't know what that is. Okay, well, cool. So then you're not having the same. Okay, well, tell me about the electromagnetic spectrum. Like, what are you talking about? You mean like how fast electricity can move from lost light? Okay, I'll teach that. No, that's not what it is. So you have to. Then people get mad at me because I walk off from people that have them type of responses for me. Say Faise One tripping. He's showing his true colors. I am. You're right. You go over there and learn about how fast electricity can move. That's the electromagnetic spectrum. And we're going to actually talk about microwaves, radioactive waves, infrared, Roy G. Biv, ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma. You know what I'm saying? We got to speak about the reality that we're in to understand it. Okay? Before we start talking about all this so-called interdimensional and metaphysics stuff, how you going to talk about metaphysics and you don't know physics? You see what I'm saying? How you going to talk about theology and all this other stuff and you ain't even studied it? How you going to talk about, oh, this book, this, that, and the third, we beyond the Bible? All right, well, let me ask you a question about the Bible. Don't ask me a question about it, I'm beyond it. If you're beyond it, I should be able to ask you a question about it because you should be the one who mastered it by now. Well, I don't read no books. No, you need to open up with that, lead with that. So you're telling me you're going to speak on characters that are in a book, but you didn't read it. Guess what you're doing? Believing that was how you know that if you ain't read the book, how you even know that what you is repeating out here is true, that it was even written. You see, so people get confused and they get lost and left behind. We let them because everybody has the right to choose. Y'all think we're not trying to fight people out of ignorance. They have the right to be ignorant, right? So is risk the truth about angels that are in the Bible? I'm also a believer of the book of Enoch. So would the draconians be the 200 fallen angels? I don't know if the draconians, okay, we got to have that conversation. Good question. I don't know if the draconians will be the 200 fallen angels. All right, because the 200 fallen angels that you're speaking about is from one story. All right, there are a lot of fallen angels beyond that story. You have to understand what we're saying. What we're saying is 200 fallen, meaning they descended into the earth plane, not fell as in fell off of what? You see, you got to learn how certain words mean certain things in certain contexts. You see, so the word fallen or fall would have been, or the ones who fell would have been Nephil or Nephilah or Nephilim. Okay, the fallen ones. Go watch the movie Fallen. All right, that didn't mean you were on a craft and somebody pushed you off. Okay, that didn't mean you was on a building, somebody pushed you off. That didn't mean you was on a hill and you rolled down it. It meant you descended into the earth plane. Okay, and they still have certain vehicles from that, according to what's being spoken of, even in those scriptures, where they're able to go up and still, like in the book of Job, talk to God. And how is there going to be a war in the heavens if Shaitan doesn't have a vehicle to fly around and shoot Michael and them? Star Wars means that Shaitan and them still got their technology. You with me? If there's going to be a war in the heavens, Shaitan, Iblis, Tanin, Halal, and them have to still have their technology to be able to go to war in the heavens. Heavens ain't nothing but outer space. You know that, right? Cosmos, heavens, what do you call it? The other world or otherworldly realms. All of that is just saying outer space. That's what your people call it now. That's what the people, the scientists, call it now. You with me? So then if they call it Star Wars, and that whole Star Wars franchise, you need to go look at it again, huh? And see what it is they're talking about. What's the Death Star? What's the Destroyer? What's the Silver Surfer, Ethereum people? You know what I'm saying? What is that? You see? And you start realizing a lot of that came from stories that was recorded in the ancient tablets. Okay? And all the superheroes, all the Supermen, and all the people, extraterrestrials. That's how you're able to see the space god, the third person, speaking on extraterrestrials like Superman. All right. You see how we're able to group Superman into that conversation. He's an extraterrestrial. There are a lot of superheroes who are not from Earth. That makes them extraterrestrials. But they get it from stories like Krishna. Krishna had a whole different planet that he was associated with. I think he was from. Right? So they come in and say he got blue skin. If they make a movie where people come into the planet Earth and they have blue skin, those are what? ETs. That's an extraterrestrial. When them angels came down to talk to Jesus, Extraterrestrials. When them angels came down to talk to Moses, extraterrestrials. When them angels came down to talk to Abraham, extraterrestrials. When them angels came down and swooped up and picked up Elijah in a whirlwind, extraterrestrials. Because he got picked up in the whirlwind and went where? To heaven. You mean outer space? No, 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 no. Yes, 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 yes. You mean outer space? Because if not, then how far do I have to fly up to get to heaven? You see? Then you have to deal with the fact that atmospheres exist, oxygen exists, and when you go out far enough outside of the Earth's atmosphere, oxygen starts to be less available. You see? I mean, this is something that people are able to go out and test themselves. You with me? So you have different levels of the atmosphere, all the way out to the magnetosphere. Okay. So, all right. So if I get to the magnetosphere, am I in heaven? Where is heaven? So if our Father art in heaven, you're talking about outer space. All right. And if you're asking for specific locations, and you will be speaking on places like the Orion star constellation or the Sirius star constellation, I'm still answering your question, or the Draco star constellation, which wouldn't be his father. He's about extraterrestrials. So just because somebody comes from the constellation or the star system, Draco, it doesn't mean that they're reptilian looking beings or reptoid humanoids. All right. You might have some that look like you. Okay. You might have some that look like Hispanics, some that look like Caucasians, Mongoloids. All right. You have some that may be, they might have to be silicon based. Some might be carbon based. It's different types of lifestyles, or excuse me, life forms that may exist. So when you think draconian, because of the narrative that mainstream media has pushed, you only think of the big faced alligator looking beings. Okay. And again, I understand that. That's because of the mainstream media. However, you have some stories and recordings of people that look like melanin dominant people or black people who come from the constellation Dracos. You'll call them draconians based off of what. Remember, draconian is just saying you're from that star system. All right. Zeta Reticulin is from Zeta Reticuli. All right. What do you call it? Andromedan is from Andromeda. That's what you call the predators. The predators are Andromedans. Okay. But that doesn't mean that that's what an Andromedan looks like exclusively, because you may have some Andromedans that look like the beings from the Independence Day movie. You with me? Same way you say, I'm an American. What's an American? You have Americans who are Caucasian. You have Americans who are, you know what I'm saying, Mongoloid or Asian. You have Americans who are Negroid or African or Native American, you know what I'm saying, Indian, whatever you want to call them. So American is not a type of gene. It's a place saying you were born on this particular soil, all right, or grounds, okay? So also, if you took somebody and you birthed them out in the ocean, that'd be a different story, wouldn't it be? If they birthed in the ocean, then especially if you're in the middle of nowhere, all right, then you're not from a particular land. You would be an Oceanian. And based on which ocean you were in, you be Pacific Oceanian, Atlantic Oceanian, Indian Oceanian, or you understand what I'm explaining to you? So it wouldn't be what people would call an American at that point, all right? Technically speaking, because that landmass, Eretz, as they called it, or that earth would be America. So you're an American, is what you would call yourself. Same way, if a Caucasian or a white person, as y'all call it, are born or is born in Africa, they're an African. So if they come and they walk to you and say, I'm an African, and you say, no, you ain't, I'm an African, they'll be confused because not everybody's stupid. Excuse me. The whole world don't think like Americans. So they looking at it for what y'all are saying it means in your language. They're not understanding that y'all have missed it and twisted up with technology and all this other stuff. They don't understand a lot of that stuff. So if Elon Musk is a South African, he's a South African based off of his origins of South Africa, you see, or Africa. When he becomes an American coming from Africa, guess what that makes him? An African American. It only doesn't make it. It's the only time they don't want it to make sense is when it's other people. I've been telling people it don't make sense since I was little. So how you gonna be both? You're either African or you're American. You're either born in Africa or you're born in America. You understand? If you're born in Sudan, you're Sudanese. You with me? If you're born in Europe, you're European. If you're born in Haiti or Haiti, you're Haitian. Okay, so I'm Haitian European Sudanese. They just gonna start saying everywhere they went, that's what they are. No. So the point is, I don't know whether or not everybody who was grouped in with Uriel in them uh, is draconian. Okay, unless you're saying they're grouped in with who they refer to as Draco or Tanin, the dragon. And that was a symbol that represented the ferociousness of their attack. All right, when they attempted to wage war, well, they did wage war. When they attempted to overthrow those who sat on the throne in what you call the heavenly abodes. All right, before they were casted out because of their rebellion, they were given a symbol, and that symbol was Draco or the dragon. You with me? So it doesn't mean that you're going to meet the devil and he looks like that. Again, the devil, that article there is confusion. You see what I'm saying? You take that out, you'll say devil, and you have to look at the fact that there are a lot of people that would have been referred to as that at that time period. Okay, now if they're still here, chances are they're in government or hiding behind different faces, queens, you know what I'm saying? Princes, you hear me? Kings, still running your planet, popes, papa, apep, a pope, a prophet. All right. When Drake, the dragon, said, I'm a pop star, not a doctor. APEP, a pop star, a pep star. APEP or APEP star or light, all right, is a school of darkness, the one who comes to attempt to swallow the sun. Yeah, sure. He ain't here to heal the world. He's here to consume it with darkness. You see what I'm explaining to you? I mean, it's not hard to read these demons. I told you, look at them, and even a lot of their tones, they just call themselves different things and pop up. And you know what I mean? You go watch that movie, Jupiter's Ascending. You better go watch it. Not everybody sees your reality how you see it. Human beings are resources, expendables, and they don't care nothing about whether you live or die, unless your living is being a part of their farm, which will help them boost their lineages to come and secure their survival. Other than that, you're food for the gods. You hear me? So I don't know. Again, I don't have that information. I'm not going to act like I do. Dr. Melikazi York is the one who retained everything. He got it. Uh, he'll be better. He'll be the one that be better. Be able to better answer all y'all questions when he come home. The thing we're looking forward to is Malachi being able to turn on the live stream. You saying, and be able to teach, and because that's what he said he was going to do, right? And perfect the doctrine and get everybody who's left that may be straggling out there to get to where they need to get to before that Stargate completion, okay, and activation. So you ain't gonna have to worry about me, going all around the world to tell you I don't know. Some of these answers I don't have. That makes sense. So I'm not gonna make it up either. But the point is, draconian doesn't mean an alligator man. All right. So you never really know with these people unless they come and tell you. And even still, who's to say that they speak your language, and who's to say that if they do speak your language, they speak it in the way that you speak it, to accept that Draco or draconian means a certain depiction. You see, this is how you help. It helps you separate the people who try to make stuff up and don't know what they're talking about from those who do know, or those who know that they don't know. Those who know that they don't know are in a better seat to move forward than those who don't know and think they do. Simple enough. Any other questions? I know we went a whole everywhere. That needed to get out though. Put it all back. You have an idea when you think this prophecy will happen? If you're talking about my book, we'll keep reading. Let's keep reading for a little while longer, and we'll see. We'll see what's being said.
Voila.
Let's play.
Can I be heard?
Tour.
Voila. There are other biases that Robert Greene mentions and deliberates upon in his book. I do recommend that you, reader, go and take a look at the different types of biases that exist. We have all most likely used these biases at one point in our lives. The main message here is to push to overcome these biases. This way, no matter what type of information floats past your nose, you'll be able to smell the you know what, and you won't just simply spray perfume or cologne on it. Remember, you are already the elite in my eyes. This doesn't mean that without my eyes you aren't elite. It means that I see those who are deemed the sheep of the world to be just as capable, if not more capable, of being supreme beings, as the ones who are the so-called elite of today. Brick by brick, this is the way we'll build our own new world. I'm in no position to prophesy or to promise that this will be a success and that you will experience in your lifetime. I'm only realistically pointing out the possibility of our success on a macro level. The higher knowledge is out there. It must only be separated from the information that is being brought forth to spawn more confusion. It's not hard to do. It will only take work. We're already on our way to a new world, and therefore we've arrived at the dawn of a new world order. What the elite don't want you to know, or even to think is possible, is they aren't at all the only ones who can bring about a new world order. They have a plan. Where's ours? For generations, they, the elite, have been working on their plan, which is called the plan, or the great plan, or the great work, or the magnum opus. All of these are just different ways of saying the New World Order. They're following up on a world order that was already in existence called the First World Order. The goal of these people, the so-called elite, can be summed up to this: establish a global dominion and bring back the ancient government that already existed before and make it be that it's irreversible and everlasting. The work is to bring back the one world totalitarian socialist government operating up under the guides of the Dark Ages. But they know better than to just jump out and present this plan to the people. It's been much more of a surgical process that has taken them generations upon generations of work, and that's why the work is magnum or magnus or magnificent or grand. This is what would be called the work of the gods, or the grand work, or the supreme work. Having the overstanding of the architects to be able to even reach the level of control they've reached. That's why the pyramids on the dollar bill, because the one who is the author of the great works, who established and initiated himself into the mysteries, is Tehuti, the Grand Master. Do you see the connection? Tehuti, or Thoth, is the one, the El, the God, the one who first introduced the blueprints for not just the pyramids, which served to be the landing marks for the extraterrestrial crafts and temples, but he also introduced the sciences and the mathematics and languages and everything that was scripted with instructions to be able to be the builders, the masons. He was the original scribe or writer or author of the magnum opus, the great work. What would be the great work in Thoth's case? He laid the foundational overstanding of the scientific principles of the universe. It was through Tehuti's works, like the emerald tablets, that the secrets of that which is called alchemy were disclosed. Hermetic tradition and its principles, including the principle that states the universe is mental, also came from Tehuti or Thoth's works. It was he, Tehuti, who is recorded to have stated, "Built I the great pyramid, patterned after the pyramid of earth force, burning eternally so that it too might remain through the ages. In it my knowledge of magic science, so that it might be here when again I return from Amenti. I, while I sleep in the halls of Amenti, my soul roaming free will incarnate, dwell among men in this form or another." Emerald Tablet 1. Those who now have the power made it their business to never abandon the original knowledge and information. The masses were given false information regarding the ancient Egyptians, while those at the top kept the keys to themselves, keys like that which is illustrated on the cover of the 17th century edition of the Emerald Tablets, as created in legend by Hermes Trismegistus. Pay attention to the symbolism of the sun and the moon, as portrayed in the image above. This is an example of the yin and yang, order and disorder, light and darkness, gem, that has been passed down and held sacred for generations. Only those who possess the light will be able to be the leaders of the world. This light is, of course, an allegorical light that represents higher knowledge. That means not just any type of information or any type of light, but the true information and the true light. Refer to You Are Light All Right book by Faise One. What you will realize if you turn the dollar bill over and study the back of it is that there is an eye on the capstone of the pyramid, seemingly floating above the 13 row of stones. That eye within the capstone structure is surrounded by light, floating up under two Latin words, annuit coeptus. The word annuit means to nod assent, to favor, or to smile upon. Coeptis means undertakings, endeavors, beginnings, or simply works. The I that is overseeing these works is tied to the original overseer, known in ancient Sumerian recordings as Anu. Make the connection to Anuit, and in ancient Egyptian recordings as Amun or Anun. Amun means the hidden one, and Anun means the all-powerful or the omnipotent one. Amun ties to the name Amun-Ra, the sun god or the creator of all things, the source. It can be summed up by the commoner that the eye is simply a representation of eye of providence. This is 1/3 truth. The providence word itself is acknowledging God or source as an overseer or protector. Charles Thomson was surely aware of the orders that existed way before the Continental Congress was ever thought of, and as one of the founding fathers, he made it a point to pay homage to those orders, as well as those gods. The major issue here is that, as you see in the movies and TV shows, if the light or the power ever gets in the wrong hands, then destruction is sure to follow. And follow it did. Remember, it was the Greeks that did steal these sciences from the Egyptians. Greek philosophers rose up and laid bricks for newer schools of thought, yes. However, those were but branch-offs of the mystery schools that already existed, as established by the ancient Egyptian and Sumerians and other groups of enlightened people worldwide. Those mystery schools echoed the point that says it's extremely vital to use these sciences to help lead and ultimately keep mankind out of darkness or disorder. Due to their own fear of losing their stolen power, the global elite have done all the exact opposite, keeping mankind in the darkness and keeping the light to themselves. This same light, if it were to be distributed evenly amongst humanity, would open doors for a more peaceful and balanced existence here on planet Earth. But for the elite, there's one big problem with that truth. Here's the problem. Peace and balance aren't profitable. This is why Nikola Tesla's push for the anti-war machine was rejected by the higher-ups. He petitioned that instead of going to war over resources and exposing the children of tomorrow to the horrors of yesterday, humanity could utilize things such as free energy to provide for all the people of the earth, to lower the cost of production, etc. This would also leave less room for brutal competition and more room for enjoying life's natural luxuries. This holy petition was swept under the rug decades ago. Do you see? The statement that claims the world has to be this way because there has to be a balance of good and evil is completely false. The problems of this world could indeed end if you who don't agree with that false statement would step forward and take matters, the light, into your own hands. There may not be too many of you left who actually dare to stand up and fight for the changes that you yourself can see need to be fought for. Most people have given up. It's easier to just live life as comfortably as they can, with disregard to those who are coming into this world after them. That is, however, just as much their right as it is yours to be courageous and to rise to the occasion. The New World Order can be theirs or yours. It's up to you which one it will be. It all depends on the amount of fight you have in you. This is a relay race. As you make your journey through life, baton in hand, finish stronger as you approach the next generation. Our ancestors did it for us. Let us do our part as well. There's much more to be done, as you know, and it's going to take the most powerful of minds. Those powerful minds must also not be threatened by their own potency. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness. that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. Marianne Williamson, A Return to Love. Let's take a second and revisit the pyramidal structure of society and how there are 13 levels or rows of the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. I want to take a second to highlight that the number 13, that number 13, and show you some pretty interesting facts about it that I feel will raise your level of awareness as just to how deep the symbolism of the elite can go and why knowing that it can is useful. The U.S. corporation, the beast of the world, has plenty symbolic ties to the number 13. There are 13 stripes on the American flag, 13 stars above the eagle, 13 bars on the window shield, 13 bars on the shield, 13 arrows, 13 fruits, 13 leaves on the olive branch, and of course 13 steps on the pyramid. The Anuit Coeptis words that sit above the I that I mentioned earlier is also comprised of 13 letters. The words e pluribus unum are also comprised of 13 letters. This number, 13, is the number through which the business of life is carried. The B is emboldened that way for a reason. Note, when you say the word busy or busyness, that you're making a buzzing sound, like actual bees, the insects, make. Also note that when you look at and say the word business, that you're actually saying two words, bees and nest, or simply bee's nest. If you take the number 13 and group the 1 and 3 together, you'll see that it is the capital letter B. As for the correlation between the bee's nest and business, the business or the bee's nest is the hive or the pyramid. Take a look at the similarities. To some, what I'm revealing may seem like a bit of a reach. I do overstand. If that is you, reader, then allow me to walk with you further down the halls of light, that you may have the blindfold lifted and see the bee. The beehive and the pyramid are symbolically interchangeable. They also put Easter eggs in their movies, like Akilah and the Bee and The Secret Life of Bees. The name Akilah as an American name means eagle, and as an Arabic name means wise and also bright and intelligent. It should be clear that the eagle is for sure one of those symbols or emblems that the Masons use, as well as the owl, who is also known as the wise bird, or the wise one, or the great wise. Go and find the movie The Secret of Nim, and you'll see more of what I'm saying. So what exactly is The Secret Life of Bees? Why do these two movies focus on the black or the melanin dominant woman or women? I personally thought you'd never ask, and I'm elated that you did. You see, family, that is The Secret Life of Bees. Walk with me. A bee has in all ages and nations been the grand hieroglyphic of masonry, because it excels all other living creatures in the contrivance, and commodiousness of the habitation or comb. A bee has in all ages and nations been the grand hieroglyphic of masonry because it excels all other living creatures in the contrivance and commodiousness of its habitation or comb. The early Masonic catechisms. As you can see from the 1724 expose, there is indeed a direct connection between the ancient Egyptians and the bee, as it mentions the grand hieroglyphic. But here is the mystery. Why the usage of the bee, and what is meant by the excelling of all other living creatures, etc.? Pay attention to this breakdown. The bee is important because not only is it tied to that letter B, which is the number 13 conjoined, it is also tied to the letter M, as that is the 13th letter in the alphabet. That letter M brings you to these words that all tie back to the mother, the true hidden one, and those words are mason, Moor, matriarch, madre, matter, mitochondria, master, mastery, mister, mystery, magi, madam, ma'am, mama, ma, ma'at, Medea, and many more. Among those words is the word matriarch. This word, when broken down into two separate words, are the word matri or matri and arch, meaning the degree of the mother. This is the degree or the arch that was protected and kept sacred, the degree of the matri, the mother. I dare say that there's a deodorant brand called Secret, and I double dare point out that it's made for women strong enough for men, and that the one made for men is called Degree Men. And I triple dare point out that if you put both the angles of the T in the Secret deodorant and the check in the Degree Men deodorant, that only then will you have the full square. But don't quote me, have a look. At first glance, you may notice that there are literally angles hidden within the logos of the two deodorants. But if you look closer, you'll be able to make them out. This is what I mean by having the blindfolds lifted. There are so many clues to what's really going on in this realm that are right up under your armpits, and all you have to do is be willing to see them for what they are. In this patriarchal world, or the world that is being governed by the pater or the fater, the father, people are only for the most part thinking from the brain of man and not from the brain of God, the woman. Notice everything is about mankind, and that all the warnings are about man's world being out of order and prone to destruction. This isn't just about man or woman, as far as who has reproductive organs or who is in tune with the parts of their brain. It's deeper. Keep in mind that we're still very much so on the conversation of the B and the number 13, which we've now uncovered is also the letter M. Do you recall the story of the cherry tree being chopped down? This was a tale of George Washington, who at the age of 6 was gifted with a hatchet. He ended up cutting down or damaging his father's cherry tree. Once his father saw the destroyed tree, he confronted little George about it, and thus the famous line was supposedly born, "I cannot tell a lie," as he proceeds to confess that he did in fact cut it with his hatchet. You may have already heard of this before. Here's a question for you. Did you know the name of the person responsible for this allegorical story called a myth? What if I told you that the name of the person was Mason Locke Weems? Exactly. You see where this is headed? Now, before we blow the lid off that mystery, let's take those three words disguised as names and define them one by one. Mason is a builder and worker in stone. Locke, a locksmith, fortified or protected place, a mechanism for keeping a door or lid fastened. And Weems, an underground home, cave, or pit used for habitation. It will for sure go down in history, his story, as a simple name and nothing more. However, I'm revealing to you that this is how they, the elite, communicate not only with each other, but with other potential elite and their children, and those who walk in certain orders that may one day lead them to higher knowledge, so that they may know which ledge or L plus edge or angle they're supposed to be able to see this world from. So how does this name and the cherry tree story tie into the B and the 13? Let me walk with you further. Watch your step. Now, to begin with, George Washington was a Mason himself. This was shown through not only his Masonic language and rhetoric, but also through paintings and depictions of him standing on the cosmic floors, those black and white chessboard floors, or checkerboard floors, as you may know them. I'm always sure to offer that the floor is that of a chessboard and not that of a checkerboard. The elite would love for you to believe that this is a game of checkers, but it isn't. This is and always has been chess. Here's a picture of George Washington depicted as the Mason he was. During the 18th century, when his land, which is now called America, was first being formed into a new country by those rebellious groups of men who came over to this land from Europe, who had all decided they were going to fight to be independent of their motherland, they started to petition the world empires for sovereignty. None of the existing empires of that time made any moves to grant them that sovereignty. None, of course, excepting the empire of the Moors, who just had to be special. History, more so mystery, has it that the Moors were established as an Islamic nation, and therefore no black or melanin dominant person who designated themselves as a Moor or Muslim were allowed to be enslaved. George Washington chose to override the treaty that was in place and set out to, quote, take the Moorish flag, fold it up, and lock it in a safe, unquote. Once this flag was locked away and chopped down, all of those people who were able to be protected under the Moorish or Muslim designation were at that point subjected to slavery. This was the ultimate betrayal, as these were the same Moors who allowed them a place for sovereignty so that they might be their own nation on this land. The cherry tree was fallen, and so was any trace of the ones who were the true Indians or indigenous people of the land. Below is an actual image. Below is an image of the actual cherry tree. From an eagle's eye view, the red of the flag can be seen as the red of the top of the cherry itself, and the green of the flag can be seen as the green of the leaf atop that cherry. So we can see how the cherry tree ties in, but what about the B and the number 13 and the letter M? The letter M in this situation stands for Mason, Moor, and Matriarch. It can also be realized by looking at the 5-pointed star on that flag that you're looking at the woman, the one who has 5 points. Allah, A-L-L-A-H, which is the English alphabet acronym of Allah. Remember that the Moors had established an Islamic nation, and that acronym is arm, leg, arm, head. The woman doesn't have a 6th point, which would be a penis. Do you see? And so the matriarch, the degree of the woman, which is the wisdom, was chopped down by the hatchet, which is an axe. I quadruple dare point out, say that there's a deodorant brand called Axe. Should I stop, drop, and roll? The reason I put the word wisdom in all caps is because the way women communicate is more like water than earth. They are much more fluid with their expressions, as well as their ability to pick up on subtleties. A simpler way to say this is that women are much more nonverbal beings than men are. There's a saying of the Masons that goes, "A wise man hears one word and overstands 2." In order to better decode this realm around you, you have to be able to adhere to the wisdom of life, which means, for men, you must be able to think like a woman, or simply be more intuitive. Bruce Lee said it best. Be water, my friend. Look at that word, water. If you were to flip the dub upside down, you would end up with the word mater, or matter, or mater, which is all saying mother. We're speaking about a type of energy state called source, which is why the word womb comes before man in the word woman, or woman. This is also scientifically true today. The XX chromosome comes before the XY chromosome, even in the womb. According to geneticists, all human embryos begin life as females. During the early development stages, the gonads of the fetus remain undifferentiated. This means that all fetal genitalia are in fact the same. Phenotypically, the fetuses are all female. If there is no Y chromosome present, the baby will continue to grow as female. This is even true for animals. Pay attention to the shape that is made when you put the 2 X's together of the XX chromosome. Look at it closely. You should be able to see that it closely resembles the Masonic emblem. This is more scientific proof that the woman is God. Here's another gem. Take the number 13 and flip it around upon itself. It may be better for you to do this on paper. When you do, you'll see that the number 13, when flipped upon itself vertically, is the word El. This word El means God. This word El also sits in the front of the word elite. Once you break the word elite down with the knowledge of El, meaning God, you'll see two words, El plus it, or ite. The suffix ite is used to form nouns denoting adherents or followers of a specific person, idea, doctrine, movement, religion, or belief system. This would mean that the word elite can also be saying elite, someone who follows El. This was also explained when I broke down that the original Grand Master of the magnum opus, the great work called Tahuti, laid out all the sciences and principles of the universe, and the elite of today have take that light for themselves. Asmuni, I'm going to read that again. This was also explained when I broke down that the original Grand Master of the magnum opus, the great work called Tahuti, laid out all of the sciences and principles of the universe, and the elite of today have taken that light for themselves. Tahuti was also called El, or Theo, or Tao, or Ptah, or God. The only thing about this is that the hidden one is still the woman, and that El has only been attributed to man. Ella is the Hebrew word for goddess, or Ella is the Hebrew word for goddess, and the Spanish word for her. You can see how she is hidden, even in tone. The woman is still God, but she is unknown to man. This doesn't deem mankind to be obsolete or useless as far as their own powerful role and position to play in life. However, it should raise a question as to how did man actually become the leaders of the world? When we think of the bees and how they run their ship, we come to realize that it's actually the queen who is in charge of the colony. Remember that there are the 13 colonies and that the bees have colonies. This is yet another gem that shows the connection between the bees, the masons, and the elite. It is the woman who should be in charge of the world, for she has the most insight on how to birth and nurture nations. How can you have a birth of a nation and not have a woman in her rightful seat?
Come on.
How do you have founding fathers and no founding mothers?
Come on.
How do you pray and call out to the Father, the Son, and even the Holy Ghost and fail to acknowledge the mother,
Boom.
Mary or Maryam or Ashira or any of the women of the religious stories? This is because man has set up his kingdom above God's. Isaiah 14:14. This is the problem of the world, and the elite know this. As the woman of the house will take a loaf of bread and split it evenly amongst the family so that all are fed equally, so would the woman who had dominion over the resources of the lands. But as the father who comes in and takes the greater piece of the loaf for himself so as to better satisfy his own hunger, so does the man who has dominion over the resources of the lands. Yet they still call this place America, the land of milk and honey. They hid the truth in plain sight. The land of milk and honey is still all about the bees, which are the women, and the natural government, the matriarch. When the female larvae of bees are newly hatched, those who are called the nurse bees select from amongst them about 13 of them and feed what is called royal jelly. This royal jelly is milk, which is the milky white substance secreted from the top of the bees' heads. When the female larva ingests this milk or royal jelly, her reproduction system is turned on and she becomes a queen. Could you imagine a world that was governed by women, or more specifically, a world that was governed by the matriarch? What about a world where there was absolutely no need for money? A world that is a combination of the two words, milk and honey. Oh,
Yep,
Oh,
yep, yep. I mean,
what
he be
about a
cooking. He be
world
cooking.
where there was absolutely no need for money, a word that is a combination of the two words milk and honey? Bars.
Can't
You
find this
see,
nowhere else.
it is the sacred of the elites that the whole concept of money is just an imitation of life itself, and that money as you know it need not exist. It only has a place in the world of competition. It would not survive as it is in a world where there was a universal understanding that the only money that ever truly existed was the hustle and bustle of life, the business or the busy nest that is energy. This would mean that you, reader, were in fact born wealthy, and that all that would await you in this world would be abundance, joy, art, happiness, and love. Remember how it has been said before that the best things in life are free? I hear there the best things in life are free, and I raise them, and all things in life are free, and that we have only been conditioned to believe that there is to be placed any type of number or estimated value on the gifts of life, and that the establishment of a momentary monetary system that would exclude so many people from the enjoyment of those gifts is acceptable. It is not. The so-called elite know that there is actually no true value when it comes to money except that which the hive mind agrees to. They also know that if you, the people, were to find out that there are a very few people who are already living life with no money, but with unlimited access to wealth, and that if you learned that you could choose which game of life you wanted to play, you would most likely choose to live in abundance as opposed to living as a slave to the higher ups who do. Many of us, the many of us, are like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, lost in a land away from home. We travel this yellow brick road, or the streets paved of gold. The yellow bricks are indeed gold. Above that which is called paper money sits the Almighty God, and I stand here to remind you of the gold standard. The gold standard is a monetary system in which a nation's currency is pegged to the value of gold. I want to remind you, reader, that no matter what they assign value to, you are and have always been the only true currency of the planet Earth. You are also the gold. This will only be useful for us to know as a people if we remember that there is power in numbers, and that as long as we have it in our minds that we must operate as these businesses called corporations up under the spoken law, which is that spell of the U.S. corporation, we won't be of the mind to live freely. Why do I say the spoken law, which is the spell? I say that because that is what is truly meant by the word jurisdiction. The word juris, meaning law, and the word diction, meaning to utter or to speak. There have been many spells, both spoken and written, over the lives of the masses. In order to break them, we must first realize that those spells are in effect. When Dorothy and the gang appears before the wizard at the end of the Wizard of Oz movie, Dorothy steps forward and explains that they had done what was asked of them, and that they had brought back with them the witch's broomstick, and that they had melted her. The wizard responds in a strange way, saying, "You liquidated her, eh? Very resourceful." This is to be understood in multiple ways. The most important is that you must do away with the witch of the corporations, that witch who runs the majority of the lives of people, encouraging people to conduct the business of the dead, as if there were ever such a thing. The dead cannot be busy unless you're speaking in terms of zombies, and that in itself is what we are seeing when we look out into this de facto world. This is zombie land. You must liquidate that corporation so that you may become full of resources. Very resourceful. It will then be a matter of acquisition versus that of debt. Notice that when you say acquisition, slowly you will hear the word aqua, which is the word agua, and that word ties you to life, as it means water. Also notice that when you say debt or debtors, slowly you will hear the word dead or debtor. And of course, those words tie you to death, as it literally phonetically states. just as do the words corporation, corpse, earn, etc. I don't point these things out to be facetious. I only hope that this can all be seen and understood by us all in time. It will be our responsibility to pull that curtain back and realize that the grand wizard we thought was oh so powerful was only a little old man, and a bad man, as Dorothy stated in the movie. Do note that it was the dog, or the god if you read it backwards, that pulled the curtain back. Channel that inner you, the one who is always in the center, so that you might be able to see past the illusions that are all around you. Once you figure out or do the math and calculate the numbers for yourself, and all things are connected, including the letters, the words, and languages that are employed in order to communicate ideas such as that of non-dualism, you will then be able to better speak the language of the elite. This is important because that language is being spoken at all times, and the masses are completely oblivious to that fact. Even when it comes to the simplest of words, it seems as though people weren't able to see how they were being unconsciously programmed over an extensive period of time. A span of time much more extensive than you may imagine. Think back on the story that was told in the book of Genesis that emphasized the importance of language and its role in the advancement or the retraction of human civilization. Genesis 11:7. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other. This was recorded to be, quote, God speaking, unquote. Oh. Saying that this action of coming down and confusing their language or confounding their tongues would serve as a solution to the human beings' newfound ability to construct a tower that would aid them in reaching heaven. Saying that this action of coming down and confusing their language or confounding their tongues would serve as a solution to the human beings' newfound ability to construct a tower that would aid them in reaching heaven. The key here is actually embedded in Genesis 11:6, where it states that nothing would be impossible for them, the humans, because of their universal language. Those are probably two of the most important verses, if not the two most important verses in the whole compilation book. This book that has been called the Sefer by people like the Hebrew Israelites. The book is actually not a Sefer. The word Sefer would mean that it, in its entirety, is a divine book, but not all of
Boom.
what's in the Bible is divine. Not every book within that compilation is documented to be divinely inspired either. Take the book of Luke, for example, where he opens up by announcing that he is only writing what he heard from some other people because it was confirming what his belief system was already. Not you losing confirmation bias. Okay, Luke. See, he was only writing what he believed and not what God told him. So the Bible in its entirety is not necessarily a sefer. But the point I was originally bringing out is that Genesis 11:7 even holds the phonetically equivocal word Babel, which is multiple words in one. When you say the word Babel aloud, you'll be able to hear and to realize that it's not just the name of some tower, for some tower. The word Babel literally means a confusion of sounds or voices. The word Babel literally means a confusion of sounds or voices. The word Babel means to speak in a way that is incomprehensible. Think about it. When you say the word Babel aloud, what does that word sound like? Say it 3 times. Babel, babble, babble. Babel. Do you remember the Masonic saying that I brought out earlier that went, a wise man, hears one word and overstands 2? Here is one of the ways that key can be used to open more doors so that more light can get through. When you say the word Bible aloud, you're hearing the word Bible as well. Bible, when broken down acronymically, has been said to stand for Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. Remember that they, the human beings involved in the construction of the Tower of Babel, had figured out the basic instruction before leaving Earth, and had followed through with those instructions, and had made plans to rise above Earth to reach heaven. The God of this story, for whatever reason, saw that this was a bad thing, and went as far as leaving his heavenly throne to come down and to confuse their language so as to prevent this evolution or elevation. Doesn't this sound like what the elites or the Elites, those higher ups who follow that particular L, are doing to this very day?
Boom.
They know the power of confusion. They know that if people remained in a confused state, they won't be able to achieve the evolution that they are capable of achieving. The language is key. Look at the Bible and its position in the world today. The Bible sits at the top of all religious books. Within that book are the basic instructions that will aid in one's ascension. But how can someone read the instructions if they don't understand what the language is? How can someone crack the codes of this realm and they aren't even aware of the basics? That's exactly the point. This is why even when we see and hear words like Holy Bible, we aren't able to see how certain words are used to literally hide the truth out in the open. From one vantage point, it may seem as though those words would only mean from that book, the Bible is holy. If you were to, however, add another vantage point, you'd be at an advantage, bars, being able to see that it is actually saying that book is holy by Bill. Ah? Now who is Bill? Have you ever noticed that people with the same name, William, will often abbreviate their name to Bill? I myself always thought that was strange, but it's ever true. Bill, reader, is none other than William Shakespeare. I don't know why that's funny to me. The man who is secretly responsible for that which you call the Bible of today. There's even a trace left behind in the Bible that hints toward William's hand, or palm rather, in the production of the book. Psalms 46:3 has the word shake, which is 46 words from the top, and sphere is in Psalms 46:9, which is 46 words from the bottom. Dr. York, Degree of Christism, page 550. Remember, this is all about language and how to speak elite. Imagine that you're in a Chinese store or restaurant waiting for your food. You notice that the employees behind the counter are all laughing and glancing your way occasionally, all while speaking in a language that you aren't able to comprehend. Most of us have experienced how uncomfortable it can be for the person who doesn't speak the language of the room in that situation. Immediately, you might feel as though you're being made fun of, and that the people making fun of you are aware of the fact that you don't speak their language, allowing for them to joke about you without you actually understanding what they're saying. That could very well be the case. Now wrap your mind around this thought. The employees are actually happy to see you because they recognize you from a social media post that they were all impressed by. They had just got through admiring the post a few moments before you strolled in, and in their language they're saying to each other how crazy or amazing it is that you walked in right after they just finished admiring your post. Can you see that as a possibility as well? The bigger picture of it all is that we could write a book, a whole book of scenarios for that one situation. But what really matters is without your being able to comprehend the language that they're speaking, you wouldn't truthfully know what was actually being said. And so any reaction you would have to those employees would just be your responding to them based off of your own uninformed interpretation. Assuming? Remember what I explained earlier on about being well informed versus being informed well enough for our liking. This is a major key when it comes to figuring out the language of the so-called elite. I tell people to pay attention to and to listen to the word language and to separate it into two words, lane and gauge. These two words are an instruction. All of us readers are travelers on our own individual paths that can and will, with enough effort, lead to one destination in the end. Note that the word destination has the word destiny enrooted in it. This means that we are all in our own lanes, and that if we were just to gauge or determine the measurements of the lane we are in, then we wouldn't continue to crash into each other. With respect to other people's having simply a different lane or pathway, we could see how it isn't necessary to swerve into others. So as more of the arcana, secrets of this realm are uncovered, it will be useful for you, reader, to be able to recognize and realize when they, the arcana, surface. They're emerging every first and every second of every minute of every major hour of every day, they. There are some subtle ones within the last sentence, and I'll let you further break it down for yourself. Most admire these secrets. Some will imitate them, creating orders and ritual-based ideologies, but very few will achieve the overstanding. This, in order of observation and action, is a representation of what is taking place in society, as well as in the world, from the bottom of the pyramid to the top. Those at the bottom stare up at the bright light at the top, and although they can see it, they don't know what it is. Those in the center of the pyramid, who are but a smidget of a degree above the gaping observers at the bottom of the pyramid, are the ones who join orders and organizations and place themselves above others because of their imitation of the secrets. They may have a higher level of information and comprehension available to them, but this is mostly only their understanding that gives them this sense of advantage. They still stand under the ones who possess the overstanding and are able to stand over the rest of the people. Only overstanding will allow for a person or being to truly utilize the arcana. The word arcana is saying two words, arc plus ana or Anna. When we use the word arc or arch, we're speaking in terms of degrees, and when we use the word Anna or Anu, we're speaking in terms of God or the gods. Do you see? The arcanum, which is the singular word for arcana, is saying the arc of Anum, who is Amun or Amun-Ra, one of the interchangeable names of An or Anu, the sky god. The arcanum or arcanum is simply, or arcanum, is simply the degree of Amun-Ra. This is why the Eye of Ra is also called the all-seeing eye. When you have an elevated viewpoint, you're able to see all the things beneath you. The eye is that of enlightenment, and more specifically, that of truth. And what sits beneath the eye is that which is the sum of all the different religions and dogmas and philosophies and ideologies that are all, in their own lane, supposed to help lead people to the light. With the truth, you can see all, and therefore you yourself not only become enlightened, but you are also able to open up the eyes of others so that they may also come up to where you are and see things for what they are. Truth is the all-seeing eye.
Boom.
The elite don't speak the language of the simple, but of the instructed. Just reading any of the religious books, scrolls, or even events and natural occurrences of life with the mind and eye of the simple ones will never allow for someone to figure out what is actually being delineated. Teachings such as those of arcane inception, like the lessons of the Kabbalah, offer gems and keys and tools that the receiver can use to find and come to understand the connections between that which is exoteric and that which is esoteric. Of course, these gems, keys, and tools are in no way, shape, form, or fashion explicitly stated. They're all hidden, disguised, encrypted, cloaked, and unostentatious. Most of the time, as you may be able to tell by now, the secrets of the higher knowledge are hidden within the countless stories that have been pieced together by people who themselves achieve some sort of overstanding. The narratives of the doctrine are its cloak. The simple look only at the garment. The simple look only at the garment, that is, upon the narrative of the doctrine. More they know not. The instructed, however, see not merely the cloak, but what the cloak covers. The Zohar. I'll give you an example of how things are illustrated, detailed, and cloaked all at once. Think back to the world-famous story of the Garden of Eden, that has also been called the Garden of Delight. In that garden, the creation of man and woman, or simply put, mankind, a race of beings who are believed to be androgynous in the beginning, states of humanity as known on earth, were supposed to have been in a much more pure state of existence, closer to divinity than even those who were the gods, or Jehovah's, who were overseeing that controlled experiment of a project called mankind. It has been said that humanity embodied the godly 7 virtues of the soul. This story can easily be broken down into a million different pieces and sent flying in a million different directions. For this breakdown and buildup, however, I just want to focus on this so-called godly number 7, the virtuosity and what is hidden in the list of virtues that the human being supposedly embodied while in that terrestrial paradise called the Garden of Eden, or the Garden of Delight, which the latter is to say the Garden of the Light. Look at the list of the 7 virtues of the soul. Altruism, right action, chastity, humility, love, happiness for others, temperance. Keep in mind that we are now far from looking at the things with the simple mind and eye. So let's investigate, or let's invest in this gate. The word gate is also the word gait, G-A-I-T, meaning a manner of walking. Let's get in our vest. Let's get dressed up and ready to take this walk through the newer gates. This acronymic arrangement of the 7 virtues of the soul spells out arc light. Just by simply looking at it, of course, it doesn't even look like a word. Oh. That's because it isn't. It's 2 words, arc and lechet. We've already dug deeper into the meaning and universally established significance of the word arc. So what of this 3-letter word with no vowels, lechet? This word is the Sufi cosmology word lahut. See, it's the same as looking at the tetragrammatons ye, he, we, he, and je, he, ve, he, or YHWH and JHVH. Just by looking at the consonants with no vowels, you're still able to sound out the words Yahweh and Yahuwah, Yehovah, Jehovah. All you do on paper is just fill those spaces in with the proper vowels. Apply that same method to the word lahut, word, to the lahut word. Say it out loud. Le-h-t, lahut. What on earth is lahut? You mean to ask, what in the heavens is lahut? Lahut is one of the multiple realms of Allah, worlds of God. That realm of lahut is where mankind can be exposed to divine theophany. That basically means that one's in that state, the all-soul state of correspondence, the true balance. Mankind can experience God as well as witness God in a form that humans can visualize and fathom. When you revisit the different religions and go in and find out more what they believed the heavens to be, you'll also end up figuring out that they all seem to agree that there are several levels or dimensions of heaven known to man. The Hindus call these dimensions or worlds lokas. The Sufi cosmologists call them awalim. The Book of Enoch refers to them as heavens. Even in the Quran, it states in chapter 65, verse 12, Allah, it is He who created 7 heavens, and like them, the earth. And also in chapter And also in chapter 71, verse 15, Asmun. And also in chapter 71, verse 15, do you not know how Allah has created the seven heavens, one above the other? It is also understood by those who studied in the esoteric schools that there are seven heavens, or levels, or dimensions. This can be taken both literally and allegorically. There are indeed multiple dimensions within this dimension of infinite dimensions. Your ability to perceive and observe, as well as the lack thereof, is the only thing that is really separating you from the awareness of these dimensions. Take the mystery of the dream world, for example. The dream world is a realm of infinite realms. Once you close your eyes and travel through the various altered states of consciousness, you begin to experience these different realms, becoming more closely acquainted with the ideas as well as the reality of the heavens or the many worlds. These realms are the true mysteries behind closed doors. In movies like Monsters, Inc., there is presented a hidden gem regarding the multiverse. In that movie, they show you that there are different doors that lead to multiple variations of realms. They would scientifically be called portals or wormholes, if speaking in terms of what would at least be perceived to be natural occurrences, and stargates and or time machines, if speaking in terms of man-made machinery. So an interesting question that could take us further behind the veil would be, since we all, generally speaking, do in fact experience these dream worlds, all while staying what we perceive to be physically put, well then where is the dream world? Where are they? These are the types of questions you must prime yourself to start asking. You must be aware of the fact that once you ask, seek, knock, that the answers or the ansars, which means the helpers in Arabic, will appear or be revealed to you. Do take note and remember that the sciences, sacreds, secrets, and signs are all universal, and that simply knowing the inner without the knowledge of the outer will not allow for you to navigate the planes efficiently. When I say navigate, I want you to see the navi, or the navel, that which is connected to the vine, or divine, the umbilical cord that connects you to the birth canal, your primordial waters, and the word gate, or gate, G-A-I-T, that we broke down earlier. With the understanding of the law of correspondence, you'll be able to walk, gate, on water, nevi. And now let's explore this question of a deeper science. Where is the dream world? If you were to ask that question to your friends, of your friends, family, coworkers, pastors, imams, local authorities, teachers, etc., chances are you'd be given different answers that all point to one common component of the human body or being, namely the mind or the brain. That they wouldn't necessarily be too far off to believe that's as simple as it gets, that when you go to sleep, something happens in your brain that causes you to dream and see images and have experiences that are supernaturally charged. But what if we actually wanted to figure out the mystery of the dream world? What if we wanted to know that which the elite are aware of regarding its actual location? This may sound a little pseudo to some, or most, but what I've come to realize is that there may exist, and I'm quite sure that it does, a way to bridge the awake realm with the dream realm. This would mean that whoever could reach this level of awareness would literally be able to make the full connection between the esoteric and the exoteric. With what I already know to be true about the hidden plain sight, with what I already know to be true about the hidden in plain sight spiritual sciences, such as quantum physics, and the knowledge of the universe as we know it, there appears to be a common denominator in everything that we can confirm exists. That common denominator is none other than consciousness. Of course, energy moves infinitely, as far as we're scientifically aware, and that includes the motion within and about light, air, water, fire, and all other elementary particles that exist in the universe. This also applies to consciousness, as well as our thoughts that exist because we are conscious beings. I mean to say that because we are conscious, we can observe. This universe we're in and have an extensive spectrum of knowledge to date is called the observable universe. Everybody and everything we can see or sense is the result of our being conscious enough to do so. Our sensory input validates our reality, which allows for us to observe the universe consciously. Observation doesn't require your physical eyes to be open. If you were to converse with a visually impaired person, for example, they could still observe you as a living, conscious being. They may not have the ability to use their eyes to interpret that information that is reflecting off you in the form of electromagnetism and photons called light, but they can still hear you or smell you and are therefore able to observe you in that way. Let's try this exercise. Every time after reading each of the words in the list below, I want you to close your eyes and imagine whatever the words read for you to imagine. After that, go and Google the words and see if you can find the image that appeared in your mind's eye or something significantly closer or something significantly close to it. This will show you how you can observe something that isn't there, as long as you have some sort of knowledge of how to observe it, even without the usage of your physical eyes. Do this for each of the words to experience the full effect of the exercise. And so the words are yellow elephant, orange car, green clouds, purple towels, red guitar, pink plane. What I'm also showing you with this exercise is that from my mind to these words, to your eyes, to your mind, traveled images that could be observed, and up until your Google search, you were able to see the images using only your imagination. The point is this: the universe we're currently in and have knowledge of is called the observable universe. You cannot observe without being in some way, shape, form, or fashion a conscious being. Consciousness allows for you to observe things that aren't actually there, but you can in fact still observe them, which means that they exist in the form of thought, which is nonetheless indistinguishable from the matter that we call real. This is what I've been working to explain to the people of the spiritual and religious communities alike, that there isn't actually anything that is spiritual, and that it's only a word to describe things you can't see, or other frequencies you weren't able to pick up on. People like Wes Penra, who have been speaking to that idea that that which we call thought is also some form of matter. That type of overstanding is why I've been led to figure out more about the functionalities and inner workings of the dream world. My own experiences have shown me that everything from deep meditation, sleep paralysis, astral projection, and remote viewing are all connected, and that these aren't merely tricks of the mind or hallucinations that deserve little or no attention or conversation. I've also reasoned that that which is called the spirit world is the same as the dream world, and the same goes for the quantum world. All of these different worlds, or theoretically speaking, many worlds, are places that we can't see, but surely that doesn't mean they don't exist. They're hidden, as are the mysteries of the elite. Quantum physics explains to a degree how this matter of multiversity works and how it allows for you to literally exist in multiple realities at once. This is called the many worlds interpretation, or the MWI for short. Modern scientists have observed a particular phenomenon where subatomic particles appear to be able to exist in more than one place at one time. This also ties in to the phenomenon called quantum entanglement, where two different particles are in some way linked together and remain as such, regardless of the amount of space there is between those two particles. Here is a visual. There arose a problem called the measurement problem, a follow-up of the problem of observation. The observation problem aims to realistically elucidate laboratory observations in a manner that is quantum compatible while using everyday language. The measurement problem aims to realistically the measurement problem aims to realistically elucidate the states of atomic objects directly using quantum theoretical language. What this means, to simplify, is that quantum physicists were charged with the task of explaining how the universe works beyond what we could as humans observe or even fathom. There was introduced to the scientific community a way to figure these things out, and that way was brought to the world via the quantum computer. Through quantum computing, they would be able to use the information and data that they acquired from the phenomena in quantum physics to create brand new ways of computing, allowing for them to in turn better understand the mysterious reality we're faced with. When you think of the matrix, computer system, or binary code, you may think in terms of either or, numerical placements as it pertains to the ones and zeros, the computer bits. This numerical placement is understood, however, on a much more complex level when it comes to quantum computing, where those bits become qubits and begin to function irregularly, being able to even be a superposition of zeros and ones. The definition of the word superposition is as follows. Superposition is the ability of a quantum system to be in multiple states at the same time until it is measured. Something interesting to think about, in fact, is that if you put a 0 and a 1, you could actually form a cube. So if you put a 0 and a 1 together, you could actually form a cube. That word superposition in itself helps to mathematically explain how something can exist as two or more entirely different frequencies at the same time, meaning two or more entirely different realms or universes also, which are composed of those frequencies. For ages, there has been some sort of awareness of these multiple worlds and realms of existence, even beyond the planetary variety. If you refer to the Holy Quran 45:36, you'll find that it says, "Then to Allah belongs all praise, Lord of the heavens and Lord of the earth, Lord of the worlds." If we're able to realize that Allah is what is called the source, or the yielder, or the creator, then we'll see that we're speaking of Allah, that when we're speaking of Allah, we're talking about the same universal perpetual motion of life that allows for the universe as we know it to exist. This means, in regards to the Lord of the worlds being the Lord of the multiverse, all of the multiverses exist in and came from Allah. The source, hence the word multiverse, which signifies that there are multiple universes. That is only one example of how the knowledge of multiple worlds isn't brand new. It's only now becoming more and more of a clear reality with the aid of quantum computing. Through technology, people have been able to tap into that which is called the spirit, or the quantum realm, accessing more and more information and secrets of the universe by the second. How does this actually pertain to what we call the dream world? Well, here's a question for you. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to record your dreams and have it played out for you and watch in real time? Have you ever wanted to do your dreams much more justice when it comes to sharing them with others by being able to actually show them the dreams on a screen, the same way you're able to show them a film or a TV show or any other type of motion picture? Wouldn't that be amazing? The truth is, there already exist technologies that have made that possible. Technology, like the brain-computer interface, BCI, provided for the production of images that were the results of signals from the brain that were able to be constructed due to the brains being connected to the computer device. Through what is called a one-to-one communication pathway, the brain is able to sync up with the targeted device directly. For example, if you were to think of a motorcycle, the picture of the motorcycle would be signaled to the computer device. This is what happens when you airdrop files from one iPhone to another. This is also what happens when you connect your smartphone to a radio system to play your music via Bluetooth. It may also help to think in terms of screen sharing. The sensors of this BCI technology are so advanced that they're able to detect the microvoltage signals of the brain, these neural waves, and record them. Because dreams were both spiritually and scientifically comprehended to be episodes in the form of series of thoughts and images, those who possessed the more complex knowledge and highly developed technologies were able to find a way to tap into the observation of the human being, therefore opening a window between worlds. This, reader, is an acute example of bridging the dream world and the real world. There exists another advanced technological project available called the Targeted Dream Incubation Project, or TDI. Scientists have introduced this technology as a potential aid for people who struggle with mental health disorders like PTSD. PTSD has been associated with the occurrence of frequent nightmares. With TDI tech, they're able to manipulate the brain during the dream stages. The subject's positive memories are reactivated, and the dreams are guided away from the dreadful and agonizing experience of a nightmare and into a more peaceful and pleasant experience of a blissful dream. There's a wearable tech coupled with TDI called Dormio that onsets this blissful experience. The subject places it on their wrist, and the activation begins at the spark of the hypnagogic state, the transitioning stage from wakefulness to sleep, where the human being is semi-conscious. The Dormio uses signals that have the same type of effect on the subject, conscious-wise, as does lucid dreaming. It sends signals as targeted information that allows for the person to shift their dreams in a similar way to how they would be able to alter their dreams during a lucid dream experience. So, through technology, it is now being shown that not only is the dream world accessible, it is also manipulatable. It is also possible for a human being to be able to look into another human being's database, namely the brain, with the purpose of also observing the universe through that dreaming human being's mind's eye. As a human being gets settled in to go to sleep or to rest, the brain prepares itself to undergo a series of changes that make it possible for certain functionalities of the body to be maintained during this conscious shift that occurs from being awake to sleep to awake again. Scientists of today have been able to observe and record these stages using advanced technologies such as the electroencephalogram. The electroencephalogram, the EEG. The EEG is a non-invasive technology test used to record brain activity during the phases of sleep, allowing scientists to observe its engagement in the various mental activities of a sleeping human being. When a person begins to drift off or fall asleep, the brain signals what is known as beta waves. These waves are usually quick and small and signify that the brain is still active and alert. Then there comes the alpha wave stage, which is a transitional stage that carries the consciousness into a deeper sleep where the brain starts to slow its motion and become more relaxed. While this transition onsets, the human being may experience certain hallucinations, some such as that of someone calling their name, whispering, laughter, odors, or even the sensation of feeling the presence of another person or other people in the room with them. These hallucinations are called hypnagogic hallucinations, and it's during the same stage that scientists are able to manipulate the subject's dreams, via the TDI technology, as we went over earlier. When someone experiences an illusion, it's due to some sort of external stimuli, whereby something appears to be something that it isn't. Illusionists or magicians specialize in causing this effect. With hallucinations, however, there is no external stimuli that causes these images to be seen, but an occurrence in the brain, the observation center, which in the case of hypnagogic hallucinations, it's the transitioning stage that appears to distort the observer's reality, as would occur if you were to change a radio dial from one station to another. During that switch, you would hear static and bits and pieces of an audio coming in from other stations that are for the most part inaudible, hence the word usage of distortion. In essence, the human being is, at that point, consciously in between worlds. Do you understand? The easiest way for scientists to explain these experiences and, in a sense, write them off is to call them hallucinations. But again, the conversation of observation says the human being is indeed still setting and hearing these things, no matter how odd or seemingly out of place those things are. During these sleep phases, the observing person is changing the radio dial that is their own conscious observation through the radio stations that are the different worlds or realities they have access to. As the human approaches stage 2 of their sleeping experience, they become less and less aware of the real world around them. The dial continues to turn. The body temperature begins to drop, and the eyes stop moving. Breathing is slower, and the heart rate is regulated at this point. The brain begins to sift through the files in a process called memory consolidation as the human prepares to dream, entering into the third stage, known as NREM, stage 3 sleep, or more commonly, delta sleep. During delta sleep, the brain waves are much slower, and the conscious ability to pick up on sounds or any other occurrences around the body is hindered and limited. As they shift gears into REM sleep, it's a normality for the person to begin dreaming. Muscles in the body are more relaxed as the voluntary ones shut down completely. In fact, the human is paralyzed, however temporarily, of course, so that they don't act out their dreams. Scientists are able to observe that the mental activity during REM sleep is similar to that of the awakened brain. The person is now most likely in the middle of a dream world. This is how scientists understand the different stages of sleep and how and when the human being dreams. When coupled with other mystical viewpoints and understandings, as opposed to the scientific, there doesn't seem to be much of a solid grounds for clash or conflict. They actually seem to be in need of each other's scholarship. If you were to peek into the history of the ancient one, such as the Greeks, you'd find that their beliefs regarding dreams were deeply rooted in mystery. They believed that not only was the dream world linked to functioning entities called oneiros, or the oneiroi, who were even believed to have relatives, as spoken of in Hesiod's Theogony, where the oneiros were believed to be the sons of a being called Nyx, night, and the brothers of Hypnos, sleep. This could easily be written off as a simple matter of transliteration. This is where you get the study of dreams. Word, oneriology. So to answer the question of where is this dream world, simply, I would say to you that it is everywhere. And I would then echo that one of the most major mysteries of the universe is consciousness, and that it is your consciousness and your observation that is key as far as what you're able to realize or experience as a conscious being. With this type of understanding, you'll be able to not only know thyself, but as Pythagoras is quoted to have stated, "Man, know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and God." The body is the temple of the gods within you. Therefore it is said, "Man, know thyself." Man. This family is the language of the elite. The elite speak both within and without. The elite spoke both above and below. The elite speak both left and right. The elite speak both esoteric and exoteric. The elite speak both micro and macro. The elite speak both light and dark. The elite speak both hot and cold. The elite speak both young and old. The elite speak the language of correspondence. This is how they've been able to maintain their own positions of power generationally. This is how ideas, when emerged, no matter what the orientation, will always seem to divide people into two or more factions. This keeps people from figuring out the universal truths of these ideas. Without the universal truths or sciences, people are not and will not be able to advance. They will only lean on their spirituality, which is just another way of saying their belief systems, which doesn't at all mean that that which they believe in is true. Remember, ye shall know the truth, and the truth will make ye free. Man cannot live off the bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, or El. This has multiple meanings. One meaning is that the fight to make a living and satisfy oneself and explore all of life's delicacies is the equivalent of being in the Garden of Eden or the Garden of Delight, with everything you need to live a life without suffering, and choosing to disobey the one order that warns you not to partake of the forbidden fruit. This would be the allegory of dying a spiritual death. The words that proceedeth out of the mouth of God or the gods have always been both a message of deliverance and providence, as well as a message of warning and admonition. These elite have placed themselves at the top by way of one key gem. It doesn't matter if the one who accesses the light is good or evil. Once they access the light, they will have obtained all they need to have the advantage. All you, the people, have to do is stop being afraid of the light, which you think is the dark. Stop avoiding the truth. It may not always be easy to endure the truth, but as my saying goes, you must endure to secure. This is the only way to end all suffering. When we indulge and become overrun by the wants and desires of this world, we feed into the illusion that those wants and desires can ever be truly satisfied. No amount of money will ever be enough for one who chases money. No amount of sex will ever be enough for one who chases sex. No amount of pleasure will ever be enough for one who chases pleasure. The mission is to conquer the urge to chase the delicacies, wants, and desires of the life, and to replace that chase with chaste. Chaste is the abstinence of sex, or six, the power of the lower self. It isn't sex that is causing the disorder. Sex is necessary for Re or Ra, or source, to continue to produce. You call this reproduction. It is the pleasurable orgasmic experience that has thrown this world into the shadow of destruction. Orgasm, from the word orgasmos, and organ, swell, and the word swell, which was used during the 18th century to mean arrogant or pretentious. This arrogance and pretentiousness that mankind developed actually separated them from divinity. Now the mystery of sex, six, as opposed to the nine, none, is hidden away. Look again at the word chase and realize that when you add the symbol of tehuti and thoth and theo and tau to that word, which is the T or the lowercase t, also the symbol associated with Christ, you will then be able to form that other word, chaste. Do you see the code? This is why we, the teachers, have explained to you over the generations that it is the lust, which is the love of the world, that caused humanity to fall before and will cause humanity to fall again if there is no new world that brings this old world to order. Those in power have only perverted the message. Don't you see that they, the so-called elite, could have fixed the problems of this world long ago? Yet with the power they've stolen, they have only both directly and indirectly encouraged and promoted this forewarned fall. Why is that? It's because the majority of the world's people are the children or the seed of the devil, who is often portrayed as a serpent. This has multiple meanings as well, as there did exist, and there does still exist, many bloodlines of reptilian humanoid beings who had more of an appearance of lizards than humans, phenotypically speaking, and were also bipedal as are humans. These were they who mixed in their seeds with the hominids and Homo sapiens sapiens of the planet Earth hundreds of thousands of years ago. That serpent is also a representation of those who were lustful creatures, animalistic in nature, who were also humanoid or human beings, who had offspring that continue on as their ancestors or their parents did. Remember when it was said that Jesus said to a group of human beings in John 8:44, "Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar, and the father of it." His children still carry out those same works today. They have caused for you, the human beings, and for the planet a serious difficulty. They hiss and slither and speak in the shadows. You must learn how they speak so that you may also be able to speak in tongues. That is another secret or sacred of the elite. The tongue they speak with is split or slit or doubled. You may have heard the saying, "The tongue is a sword." The sword, or the S word, secret, sacred, sacrifice, soul, shaitan, synagogue, shamayim, signature, is double-edged. The image above is an allegorical depiction of the double-edged sword. Think back to the images of the olden attire of people like George Washington or the operatives in Great Britain. Do you recall how all of their suits used to have the same exact split or slit in them? The back of them used to hang all the way down. This was known as a tail suit. Also think about the tie and the way it hangs down in front of you with the resemblance of a tongue. That tail of the suit symbolizes the lizard or the reptile's tail, and that tie represents the tongue of the beings who have been called the draconians. The way they play the game on the mind is they will put these beings in their movies and in their cartoons and make the masses think that they're just some randomly imagined fictional beings like they did with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They will turn around and make mention of laws called draconian laws. These laws were supposedly brought about by a ruler by the name of Draco back in 621 BCE. The draconian laws were said to be extreme and harsh. For example, any debtor who had status that was lower than that of his creditor was forced into slavery. Notice the aggressiveness associated with the draconian laws. The draconian laws, some of the reptilian beings, the draconians, some of the reptilian beings from the Draco star constellation, were also known or at least believed to be gigantic, smelly, aggressive creatures. Can you see how easy it has been for them to hide their involvement with humanity in the open? The draconians aren't actually a single or specific species of extraterrestrials. The draconians are any of the many different types of beings who come from the Draco star system. The reptilian humanoid being, the reptilian humanoid beings that most people think of if they've explored surface information about different races of extraterrestrials are but one type of draconian being. There are draconians who appear human. Nonetheless, the reptilian humanoids have been conducting business on Earth for ages. This is another hidden secret of the movie Monsters, Inc. When you think of monsters, demons, devils, angels, gods, or any of the so-called mythological creatures, you are actually thinking of extraterrestrial, subterrestrial, or interdimensional beings who have been observed by human beings over time. When children were telling their parents they saw monsters, the chances are they were not imagining those beings. They only knew to call them monsters because that was the word their parents surrounding people or the Hollywood movies, TV shows, and cartoons gave them to use. They all come and observe the children for different reasons. Some of the reptilian humanoid draconians have been conducting business, Monsters Inc., on the earth as a human being would at a grocery store. This may be a hard pill to take, but when they say the words human trafficking, they're also alluding to that interplanetary business where human beings are abducted, traded, sold, studied, and even eaten, all for the benefit of whichever extraterrestrials, subterrestrials, interdimensional travels, or human beings are participating in that business at that time. Sadly, a lot of children have been abducted for these purposes. At a point in time, there was a specific group of reptilian humanoid beings who were hunting children with less toxins in their blood because they couldn't consume blood with lots of toxins in it. This wasn't too long ago. There was a huge wave of Caucasoid children going missing for that very reason. Most Caucasoid parents were extra strict about their children's diets. This meant that young Caucasoid children were a lot healthier than other races of children, especially in America where the so-called Black or the Negroid community was flooded with the most unhealthy foods and beverages of the elite. Oh, that the elite could allow for. The famous milk carton abductions showed faces of these elite children, most who were never to be seen again. This is another dark secret of the elite. Humans are not only resources that fuel the elite, they're also to be resources, most commonly known as sacrifices for the elves or the gods. One of the groups and organizations that imitates and ritualizes an actual reality, as we went over earlier when I explained that there are some groups and organizations that do so, is known as the Bohemian Grove. The Bohemian Grove isn't actually the name of the organization, but more so the location that some of the so-called elite are known to frequent. Most people who have been exposed to some sort of knowledge about this place and club have only been informed by people like Alex Jones about the strange rituals that happened there that he witnessed and recorded himself. The ritualistic gatherings have been said to have been dedicated to an owl god. There actually stands a 30 feet tall statue of an owl on the grounds. It is around that statue that the ritualistic gatherings have been observed. During those gatherings, a fake dead body, people dressed in robes, fire, and secret society type stuff can be seen. Of course, to the simple person, that ritual would have to mean that these evil people worship the devil, sacrifice children, and drink blood. There's plenty to unveil about the Bohemian Grove. However, that goes so much further beyond secret society of devil worshippers and a secret location for their odd rituals. I want to first address the owl in the room. The owl has been a symbol of the elite for a long time now. When you look into what the reason for that might be, you'll find that it only represents wisdom and nocturnal vision, the ability to see in the dark. This is true, but it's only true allegorically, because the elite are surely wise, and they do have the ability to see in the dark, being that they've kept to themselves and passed down to their children the night goggles that aid in seeing the light in a dark, unknown world that they themselves created by turning off the very light that would have allowed for us to see. Let's take a few more steps beyond the allegory, through a door of a higher truth, and up the stairs of clarity. The owl is not only a symbol of wisdom and nocturnal vision, but that of a certain extraterrestrial beings who have been visiting and living in, on, and out of Earth for over 700,000 years. And maybe even much longer than that. This is another major secret of the elite. Before we walk any further, I just want you to look very closely and to take a mental note of the similarities of these next two images. I will then explain to you how you can know for yourself that I am still revealing to you the truths that will open your eyes to a whole new world, as it is important that you can see that which I can see, because I too have in my possession a golden pair of night goggles, with which I am able to see in the dark. I don't mind sharing, but I'd much rather you have your own. Oh, that is a picture of an owl and an alien. An extraterrestrial. The first face is that of an owl. The second face is that of a gray alien. What people may not know about the grays, which is a name given to the multiple different races or types of extraterrestrials because of their gray pigment, have been documented on, which is a name given to multiple different races or types of extraterrestrials because of their gray pigment, have been documented on by human beings since the beginning of human civilization on Earth as we know it. These are of the different types of gods who came down to Earth to mingle with the different life forms on this planet. They have been observed and documented by both the ancient Sumerians and the ancient Egyptians, two of the earliest human civilizations known to have existed. These gods were recorded to have different appearances regarding their size and color. Some of these humanoid beings were recorded to have green skin, gray skin, blue skin, red skin, pale or beige skin, as well as brown skin. But the black eyes of a much different proportion than that of the human being, and they also had larger heads and were often either significantly taller or shorter than human beings were. Above are two images that depict the ancient Sumerian gods. See how their eyes are much larger than that of the human beings? I'm hoping to make it clear as we go on that when people call certain extraterrestrials grays, that they are only calling them that based off of the observation of the pigment of those beings, and the owl is not only a symbol of honor and reverence and worship of the grays, but of the gods who also, for the most part, have been observed to have the same face. Take a close look at this next image of a painting from over 10,000 years ago. I want you to pay attention to the similarities between this painting and the images of the ancient Sumerian gods above, as well as the owl and the gray alien above the images of the ancient Sumerian gods. You see, reader, people have been told that the biggest trick the devil has ever pulled on the masses is convincing them that he doesn't exist. I'm telling you, even more than I ever have before, that the biggest trick that the devil, the elite, has ever pulled on the masses was convincing them that extraterrestrials don't exist. They will entertain the spookiest belief systems about do-gooder spirits and ghost gods on television without blinking, but let somebody even mention the ETs, and they'll be immediately cast into the shadow of insanity.
Oh,
Why is this? Mm, mm, mm. If people speak about their belief in aliens, isn't that their constitutionally protected right to both believe in them and speak about them, about their belief publicly? According to the second clause of the First Amendment, that deals with religion. According to the second clause of the First Amendment that deals with religion, that appears after the Establishment Clause, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And the freedom of religion or belief is guaranteed by Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So why are Christianity and Islam and Buddhism and Judaism and other spiritual-based religions respected, while UFOlogy and Scientology are ridiculed and frowned upon? Those who believe in aliens are shunned, but those who believe in aliens, but instead of calling them aliens, would prefer to call them angels and demons and God or gods, are designated as noblemen who deserve to be able to practice their religions without being publicly chastised.
Boom.
In a world where God is clearly not the focus, why does the concept sit even above scientific deliberation? The reason for
Boom.
this is because if people only believe in God, and if those same people are told that that's all they'll ever have to do is believe, then they will never set out to actually confirm those beliefs. All that they would live by at that point would be the bread alone. Bars! Which is the worldly system of profit as opposed to profit, Prophet, and they won't explore what it means to live by the word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. They won't find out the truth about God, and they will stay trapped because they won't know which way is out.
Boom.
This has been the case for too long. It is time that the people know the truth. The trumpet has already been blown. Read the realm on that word. Trumpet. Trump plus ET. In 2020, Trump called for the disclosure of the UFO/UAP phenomenon. Do you remember back when everyone was saying that 2020 was the year of vision? 2020 vision? I remember explaining to people that another word for vision is revelation. Who is it that blows the trumpets in the book of Revelation? The angels, which is another way of saying the extraterrestrials. The trumpet, or the revelation, is that God is real. And by disclosure, they're telling you that you're this close to the Ur, which is the Or. Or means light in Hebrew. If you were to spell it backwards and pronounce the word which you see, which would be Ro, you would be saying Roh or Ra, which is the source of light, the sun. You're also saying Ra and Horus all at once. The plural word for Or is Oros. Flip those letters around and watch what happens. O-H-R-O-S, Oros, to H-O-R-O-S, Horos, to H-O-R-U-S, Horus, Horus. When you merge Ra and Horus together, you have the name Rahorachti. And yes, that is the actual name, and it means rising sun or morning sun. I do encourage you to look up all that I teach you about. Oh, but should I stop and roll again, though? Did you know that the word phenomenon derives from the Greek word phenomenon? And that word came from the verb phanestai, meaning to appear or to become visible, from the word phanein, meaning to show, to bring light to, or to reveal. Allow me to further reveal, or put the re or the ra to the veil, so you can see even more of what's being hidden. It's that day and time, isn't it? This is the apocalypse. Apo, or un, plus kaluptein, to cover. Time to lift the veil. It was the owl that secretly aided in the high-speed advancement of technology, including that of weaponry. These beings made deals or treaties with the human leaders. The treaty stood that they, the owls, would give human beings certain secrets and higher sciences regarding the universe that would allow for them to advance their knowledge and technology, and in return, they, the human beings, would turn a blind eye to the experimenting, the hunting, abducting, and more that would be done to the humans that were under the elite, the human leaders. This resulted in a collaborative effort worldwide to be sure to keep the little people uninformed about the presence of extraterrestrials on the planet Earth, so as not to dishonor the treaties, so that they, the elite, could continue to advance. You can find traces of these truths by researching where certain meetings took place regarding the Manhattan Project that led to the weapon of mass destruction, the atomic bomb being dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. Back in September of 1942, many of the so-called elite came together for a meeting at the Bohemian Grove. It was there and at that time where the extraterrestrial involvement with modern mankind geared up to prove destructive. They, the elite, had already been making contact with these beings, receiving pieces of information here and there. They called in a man by the name of J. Robert Oppenheimer to be in on the job, who would later go down in history in his story as the father of the atomic bomb. Referred to is The Computer God book by Faise One. That project was overseen by the U.S. Army Air Forces. The Bohemian Grove was set up as a base where the extraterrestrial humanoid beings could come up and fellowship and have meetings with human beings. The Bohemian Grove is itself an Air Force base. Let me show you a hidden gem regarding that secret. Here's the address of the Bohemian Grove. 20601 Bohemian Avenue. Take the number 2 and substitute it with its alphabetical equivalent, the letter B, and do the same for the number 6, which is F, and the number 1, which is A. Here you have the letters B, F, and A, BFA. Flip the letters BFA around and you'll end up with AFB, which stands for Air Force Base. There exists a whole separate line of events than what the public is aware of. In this world where you have to know where you came from in order to better understand where you're supposed to go, when it comes to retrieving the information that you will use to progress, you'll either rely on his story, history, the story of deception told by the snake, the his story, or you'll realize the hid story and see how they hid the true stories from you. Major names like Wernher von Braun had become a part of that hidden story. Isn't it strange that right after he retired from NASA, he started to meet with the Bohemian Club? What did he know? And why was he allowed to sit alongside the elite of this world and others? It's because his mind and his work was requested elsewhere. He, Wernher von Braun, in 1972, went on to work to help advance another world within the world. This is what's called a breakaway civilization. But where did he go? According to his story, he went to Germantown, Maryland, to work for Fairchild Industries. Guess what else Fairchild is the name of? Fairchild is also the name of a United States Air Force base that was constructed back in 1942, the same year the meeting took place that led to the creation of the atomic bomb and the destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It was through people like Wernher von Braun that the private space industry advanced. Everything with these people is private, classified, top secret, hidden, concealed, closed, and covered. But remember, that is the language of the elite. These people seek to recruit and induct anybody who reaches certain levels of status they feel will help them and their causes. This has always been about what the Bible conceptualizes as good and evil, as well as the so-called spiritual warfare of Ephesians 6:12. The elite are the ones who sit at the top and are the principals of Sheol, which is the word school, but is the Hebrew word for hell or the pit. They are the principalities of darkness. In an allegorical sense, and and they, as human beings, are not alone. They never were. The flesh and blood that human beings wrestle not against is to say that what and who is in control is not human. It doesn't mean that they themselves don't have flesh and blood. Do you understand what I mean? They're only much different. Oh, they are only much different genetically due to their existing in other realms and on other planets where oxygen and other life-sustaining chemical elements function differently than on Earth. These are the gods responsible for the rises and falls of humanity. They have much more influence on life as we know it than what most people would ever imagine. Among the elite groups rests the unspoken family. They aren't unspoken because you literally can't say their name, but they are unspoken because most people only know the surface of what and who they really are, and therefore they often misspeak when it comes to explaining about them. This group of elite are none other than the elite Jews. When I say the elite Jews, I mean to say,
Skip it.
and when we told the angels, prostrate yourselves before Adam, they all prostrated themselves, save Iblis, who refused and gloried in his arrogance, and thus he became one of those who deny the truth. Quran 2:34. Do you see? This, reader, is the language of the elite. This is what and how they speak. Now, it is the synagogue of Satan, those owl beings, who are behind the many wars of mankind, including the most recent world wars. There was a movie called War of the Worlds that focused on an alien invasion that caused chaos for the human beings of the earth, wiping them out and using their blood as a resource. Are you walking with me? War of the Worlds began about an extraterrestrial presence that caused bloodshed, is to say that the world wars through which bloodshed was caused had an undocumented extraterrestrial involvement. These extraterrestrials were already powerful being that they were far more advanced than the human beings they came in contact with, and therefore they had the upper hand from the beginning. It is at this point where I will attempt to shine a light on a dark history involving this face, which we will skip for now.
Tawat.
Antuk atanana.
One more page.
Genetics.
What's the last page?
Last page. The last page I have is to do with the 11, the gateway. Their light will proceed before them, and on their right they will say, Our Lord, perfect for us our light and forgive us. Indeed, you are over all things competent. It's where we put the 407 or the 704 into.
That's rehab.
Oh, I'm mixing books. Okay, well, Tua. So the last page that I have is Oh, yeah. So the last page I have in How to Speak Elite is the elite played the masses, even down to the boosters, because the masses don't know what the word variant means. It's just another word or way of saying variation. And anytime there's a variation or a variable, the equation is altered. If we're speaking in terms of mathematics, and you can't use the same solutions on those variables. So go look up bioinformatics. It's all about data. That's what genes, DNA, RNA, mitochondria. It's all about DNA. In order to learn how to speak elite, you must first be willing to learn to read the realm around you. The elite speak the language of the all, which is the oneness. Your consciousness is already aware of this oneness. You only have to learn to utilize your own consciousness, to decipher every now. Now is always. You now know the language of the elite. Welcome to the light side. We've been expecting you. Remember, you too are capable of being elite, the elite. Here is a key. If you can't beat them, don't join them. If you can't beat them, find another way to beat them. If you can't beat them, become the them and have them join you. Phase one.
Tour. Tawa Hatley that.
Tau antuk wa antuk atanana.
Oh
Hadus
wow.
ashug.
Tour. Hadus Ashur, Neteshago, Netarusha.
Neferushat.
Wadu.
Wadu.